pretty vocal from day one that there's been differences spoken out on my podcast.
It was cool to have both the Lucky Dogs up there, though, racing. I thought we might see if the podcast still going next week, actually, after this one.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Lucky Dogs podcast. We've got a real special guest with us today, Garth Tander. So welcome.
I was looking for, thank you. I was looking for the special guest.
You're a very special
I'm here,
guest.
am I? Oh, thank you. No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, do you know what actually makes you so special?
Go on.
You're from Perth, just like me.
Yes,
Tiger
but
Kart
that
Club.
Is special.
Represent.
He thinks he's west from Toowoomba, but that's nowhere near west.
We're actually, before we started this podcast, we're going through our notes, and he goes, you know a bit about Garth. I said, yeah, I know where he started karting, know where he's from, know where he started Formula 4. He goes, how do you know this? I said, because he's from Perth, Rudy.
Yeah, that's right.
And he goes, he's a guy from Perth.
I chat GPT up, looking it all up, seeing where it's from.
Yeah, it's a pretty small fish pond over there, so it's pretty easy to research everyone that comes from WA.
Yeah, that's right. We like to generally get into the history and where you started, but we'll run through a few stats. So you've won one Supercar championship, 6
Correct.
Bathurst, which is pretty crazy. Who's been your Richo? Or
There's Richo. Jim is on 7.
Yep.
Brock's on 9. Craig's on 7. And then I think it's Scaife, Larry, myself, and one other on 6.
So you'd have to know all this stuff now, being a
Yeah, you do.
commentator.
You have to know.
You have to be all
in the
over it.
broadcast. So I need to brush up on that before we get to this.
We could let Ains rest today, actually. We could actually just go, hey, Garth, what's this?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, we've got people for that too, so we can lean on them.
Oh, it's funny. And I think it was saying like 58 race wins. So
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive over the years. You actually, I was reading, there was a couple of close ones in there as well that you nearly got a couple more championships really along the way, or early days.
Yeah, there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas.
Yep.
2000 was really close.
Yeah, I saw
so we second in that championship. Needed to win Bathurst because that was the first year it was part of the championship. Needed to win Bathurst to win the championship. We won Bathurst, but Scaife, who we were battling with, had to finish 16th or worse, and he finished 7th. So finished second in that one. And then 2006 was leading. And then I was at dealer team. They had to split us up so Rick Kelly and myself, they split us up. I went to HRT. I signed a contract to drive for HRT for 2 races and then went back to dealer team. And then the idea was to split us up so that we didn't get both taken out if we're in the same car, because this is all before the primary driver, secondary driver stuff. So I shared the car with Mark, and we were leading Sandown, and the front end fell out of it. And then we qualified on pole, and the clutch failed. And there was that big one where Jack cleaned him up going up Mountain Straight. So there's that one. And a couple others. But hey, coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, but didn't.
We'll have that.
Hindsight's a real power.
Isn't it great? Yeah. Well, what'd you say, 58 race wins? I would have won 100 if hindsight.
There's a bit more turn before drive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, I think we always like to start off by taking it right back to the start, and we kind of want to, I wouldn't know it, but, you obviously grew up in Perth, but also how'd the passion for motor racing come about? What did your family do? Just that sort of transition from probably a young age through to when you started go-karting and all that.
So my exposure to motorsport was through my dad. He was involved with at Claremont Speedway originally, working on cars, speed cars, before I was born. And then when I was really young, about 3 or 4, a mate of his built a Mazda RX-7 to race at Wanneroo in the street car class. And that car lived at our house. It lived in the shed at home. And so when I was 3 or 4, that was just lived in the shed the whole time. So that was my first exposure to motorsport, and obviously loved it. And then started karting when I was 8 on the dirt, actually, out at Kewdale. There was a little dirt track. Actually, it's right next to the airport, but it's not there anymore. So I started on the dirt because of Dad's speedway friends. Raced on the dirt for 3 or 4 years, and then moved to bitumen karting at Tiger Kart Club at Coburn initially, and then at Wanneroo at the kart track there. So, I was playing AFL footy on Saturdays and racing karts on Sundays, and then had to make a decision because the AFL comp changed to Sundays, and I had to decide whether I wanted to either play footy on a Sunday or race go-karts on a Sunday, and I chose go-karting.
Seems like you picked the right one.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't think I would have been still playing footy at 48 or whatever I was last year.
Yeah, right. So that was, and then, so you raced go-karts to what age did you finish in go-karts?
I finished the karts when I was about 17.
Yep.
Because back then you couldn't race. I don't think you could race cars till 16 back then. So I think I started in Formula Ford. I did sort of half Formula Ford, half karting in my last year, which was I think 94, 95. And then started in Formula Ford in Perth with Fastlane. Late 95 it was. Yeah. So.
Yeah, okay. What was it like? Like, that would have been a fair bit of travel back then. I know you've probably had the same thing, but when you went to Formula Ford, that would have been difficult being from Western Australia.
Yeah, it was. The year we did the championship, the Formula Ford Championship, 97, the car lived on the East Coast. So we based it on the East Coast and we flew backwards and forwards all the time. But we had got to the point, because we were going pretty well and we were winning races. And you know what it's like in Formula Ford. If you're winning races, you're cheating. So they'd strip the engine down after every meeting. So we'd have to freight the engine back in bits, and then put the car away wherever we were leaving it, Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, depended where we were, and then rebuild the engine and then send the engine back and put it all together and go to the next race. So there was, a lot of that going on, a lot of freight, but the car basically lived on the East Coast, and flew the midnight horror, which you would have done a lot, where you leave Perth at midnight and you fly through the night and then you land in Melbourne or Sydney at 5 in the morning and go to the car, put the engine in, go to the track, and you get to the track at 5 in the afternoon and your eyes are hanging out because you haven't slept, and it's what you had to do because it was the cheapest way to do it.
It's just character building, really, isn't it?
Well, it is character building, but that's what you did then. Like, we didn't have the money, like we didn't have any budget. Like, it wasn't like when you did it, Will. You had $1 million to do Formula Ford. It was. Yeah, you just didn't have the budget. So the best way for us to do it was to do it like that. And we didn't know any other way. That was the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So obviously you raced Formula Ford to Fastlane, which is really cool because Brett's still going to this day.
Yeah.
And I was actually there yesterday with my little cousin Jay, and he was getting his first ever seat fit for a Formula Ford, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I remember obviously growing up and racing karting, and I was part of Tiger Kart Club, which was Coburn and Wanneroo, like how Garth said. And Garth was the poster boy for Tiger Kart Club. When you drove in, you saw a big sign of home of Garth Tander, and that was all the way up till Daniel Ricciardo. And they got a big sticker, and it was
over the top, bang, straight over the top of Garth, and then it became the home of Daniel Ricciardo.
Probably
just like that.
Probably fair enough.
You're probably happy to get replaced by Daniel Ricciardo.
Fair
They slap
enough.
someone else, like, I don't know, Andre's moved over there. Imagine they slap Andre over the top of you.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Kiwis in WA. It is the Western Island. Yeah, well, funny, story, we knew the Ricciardos, I knew Daniel when he was tiny, growing up, when he started karting at Tiger Kart Club. Joe, Daniel's dad, and my dad knew each other through Wanneroo Raceway. So, Joe has an excavation business and earthworks and all the rest of it. And when we built, the house that we grew up in, Joe did all the earthworks for the house. So we've known the Ricciardos for forever. So, so when they sort of cast me aside at the kart club and put Daniel in there, I was like, yeah, well, he's won the Monaco Grand Prix and he's won a few others. Probably fair enough.
Yeah, but for me growing up, that was really cool seeing you driving into the racetrack, and obviously seeing Daniel as well. And then fast forward, so how many years did you race Formula Ford for, and when did that first call come in?
I raced Formula Ford. I did the State Series in WA in 96, and then the National Series in 97. That's when we won the National Series. And then didn't have a drive, didn't have anything for the start of 98, had no money left. There was no Dunlop Series back then. There was no Porsche Carrera Cup.
Wow.
There was Formula Holden. That was it. So I did Formula Ford, Formula Holden, Supercars. That was the trajectory. The budget, I think the year that we did Formula Ford, we spent probably 120. Most of that was on flights, flying backwards and forwards.
Which is a lot of money.
Back then, late 90s was a lot of money. And then the next step was Formula Holden. The budget for that was 300. It was we didn't have that. Just didn't have the money. So I was working for Brett. All through my Formula Ford time, I was working at Fastlane Racing on the Formula Fords. And I was working for Brett. So I started in 98 as a Formula Ford mechanic. And it was only when Steve Richards left after the third round, which was at Lakeside, to go race for Nissan in the UK, that there was an opportunity. And I just rang Gary and, have you heard of me? Can I have a drive? And he's like, yep, we'll give you a test. And away we went. I was pretty lucky.
Oh, I found that, I was looking at that, but crazy now thinking if that happened in this day and age to go from Formula Ford straight to a supercar. It seemed to happen maybe a little bit back then, did it? Or
a little bit. Lounsey did it, but he did a little bit of Formula Holden. So the young guys back then was Lounsey, myself, and Jason Bright.
Yep.
And I was a couple of years younger than Lounsey and Bridie. And they did do Formula Holden. So Lowndes won the Formula Ford Championship in 93. Bridie won it in 95. I won at 97, but they both did some Formula Holden stuff first. So that's much bigger car, much more powerful. They were serious cars, like fast cars. I did a couple of tests in them, and they were cool cars and big, heavy, proper, like Formula 3000 cars, if you sort of think or Formula 2 car is today. So that probably gave you a bit of a grounding, but I went from 110 horsepower, 500 kilo Kent Formula Ford, not the Duratec we're using now, to a 600 horsepower thing that doesn't have the aero, even what a Gen 3 car's got to now. Supercars had no aero. They weren't that refined as they are now. They were hard to drive, really hard.
Think back, like obviously we raced a bit in Formula Ford back in the day when I was racing. Well, not me and you, but you were around at that time. And I think about the step up and how much I learned through the Super 2 era, because you jump out of a Formula Ford into a supercar and you torch that many tyres, because in a Formula Ford, at least you can see when you do a lockup and you're like, oh, yeah, I can see that. In a supercar, you're like, God, I've got a feel for this thing.
Oh, there's a smoke coming into the cabin. Oh, yeah, that one must be locked over there.
Yeah, that's right. So, like, you're straight into the deep end.
And it was brutal when I did, because back then Larry Perkins was still racing, Alan Jones was racing, Dick Johnson was racing, Glenn Seaton, Russell Ingall was just becoming the enforcer, John Bow, and they did not want a young kid, because young kids weren't a thing then. Like I said, Lowndesy came in, Brodie was there, and me. That was it. Wasn't a thing for like the youth like we have now in supercars. And all these guys owned their own teams and it was their business, right? So they didn't want these young kids coming in and starting to establish themselves. So man, they fought hard, and it was like proper, I mean, you guys have done it. You know when a young guy comes into supercars, right? It's like, righto, rookie, just cool your jets, wait your turn. Man, that was on steroids when I came in. So, and I fought back hard. Like I was like, I don't care about these old buggers. So I started crashing into them, and I got into a few blues. It was pretty wild.
Well, sounds like we've got a few things in common.
We actually had on here your first race.
Oh,
Wasn't the best start we heard.
No, I stalled. Stalled. I never did a practice start. So I did. So the story is, I rang Gary on a Thursday when I heard, so Lakeside was on the Sunday. I flew back to Perth. I was over there for Formula Ford mechanicking for Tim Lay. And then flew back to Perth. It was on Thursday. I was working at the track at Fastlane. And I rang Gary, and this was on Thursday. I flew to Melbourne that Sunday. We tested on the the Tuesday. And I raced that weekend. So in just over 7 days, I went from nothing to doing a supercars race with a test in the middle.
That's crazy.
And so we did the test, and I never did a practice start. So I said, how do you start these things? And they said, I just hold it on the limiter and go. And because back then, that's what you did. You just 100% throttle on the limiter and just dump the clutch, and they just take off. And I was like, okay, no worries. So first time I'd ever held it on the limiter, and the thing, the noise they made, and it was like, this thing is going to throw all the valve springs out the rocker covers, and I just eased right back off the throttle, and the light went off, and just and stalled it. So I was last to the first corner. I was lucky I didn't get cleaned up, and last to the first corner. So only the best thing about that is I could only improve from there. So
We've all been there and had that feeling, but how empty of a feeling is it when it's your first ever race? Like me at Bathurst, my first ever time, just got the call up for Erebus, crashed out in practice one. But the stall, you would have been sitting there.
Oh, you're literally, in the time it takes you to get to wherever the start button was and restart again. Oh, my career's over before it even began. So the world, it's like time slows down, and you're just like, oh no. But away you go. And luckily it wasn't over right there.
And was that 98?
98. April 98.
And you got the whole rest of the season in there?
So it was a one-off deal to do Phillip Island. That was like, we'll just give you a run and see what it's like. And other than stalling it went pretty well. Other than that, after that, it went all right. So from that point on, Gary gave me a deal for the rest of the year. So just till the end of 98. So, I think I did seven or eight races that year. So.
And you obviously reached success quite early in your supercars career. So talk about 2000, that first Bathurst win, and what one probably means the most to you.
Well, Bathurst wins the most.
Yeah.
It's like asking who's your favourite child.
So you don't actually have something in common.
I don't know.
Oh, Will, it changes your life. Yeah, oh, my gosh.
It actually made your hair grow back.
Yeah, it does.
I better get it this year, then I hope.
I was starting to go bald in 99, and then since then it's been fine. Look, the first time I finished Bathurst was 2000 when I won it. I was 23, And I was like, you know, what, 23, you know, remember when you guys were 23 and you're racing the main game, you sort of think, you know, you're pretty cool and, you know, your shit doesn't stink. And then so I used to think, all you got to do is finish this race and you'll be somewhere near the front. And it was like 9 years later before I won it again. And it's in those 9 years, every year you go, oh, I underestimated how hard this was. I underestimated it. And it feels like it's getting further away than closer, the second one. So it's... I then learned in that 9 year period up till 2009 when I won it with Will Davo that, this is a hard race to win, and you've got to be lucky to win it. So what's your favourite? They're all different, absolutely all different. Like first one's obviously first, and you think, well, how cool is that? I mean, grew up as a kid watching this on the couch on every first weekend in October, watching this on TV, and here I am winning it, let alone racing in it. That's pretty special. Then winning it with Will and HRT, like that was pretty special because that was right when HRT was, you know, right at its peak. Winning it with Nick because he was a rookie, like he'd never done the 1,000 before, and I chose him. I said, right, I want you. Yeah. Spent all year training him and working with him, and every day we trained, every day we spoke about the race and just prepared all year for that. So that was pretty cool. And then obviously it was a while, and then went to Triple Eight and won it with Shane. The first one that we won with Shane was weird because that was a COVID race. There was no one there. It was like you're up at the podium, there's tumbleweeds blowing down pit straight. That was strange. Winning it again, the last in 22 with Shane was the last Holden win. That was pretty special. That was pretty cool. And then obviously the last one with the Penrite guys, because that's basically what I got hired to do. Go there and help them become a contender. And so to be able to do that in 3 years was pretty special as well. So I haven't given you one. I've spoken about all of them because you can't narrow.
You can't pick one.
No, you can't pick one.
Yeah. Surely 2000 would have nearly been heyday, like up on the hill.
Oh man, it was peak top of the mountain. Like you used to look like I never went to the top of the mountain until about 2008, 2009, because I was like, I'm just too scared to go up there. Like you hear all the stories you used to hear of, you know, if you drive into the wrong area and you stop and you don't do a burnout, they burn your car down and all the rest of it. And you used to look up there at night time, like you're staying in town and you look up there at night time and the top of the mountain was just orange because everything was on fire. It was wild. Like it was wild. But that year in 2000 wasn't orange because it was pouring rain. Like this was the old pit lane, so not the pit lane that we have now. Is just like used to have like pit lane bunkers and then all different sort of garages out the back where the trucks would park now. And that pit lane, when we got there on the Monday, was wheelie bins were floating down pit lane. It was that wet. And it stayed wet all week. It was, it was seriously wet.
I always think about people like yourself and Lowndes and all those guys that have been through like from the 90s to now, like the change in the sport and just the fans and all of that used to go on compared to now. It would have been a wild era just seeing the transition.
Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, some of the, like Gold Coast, because Gold Coast used to be, when IndyCar came, it was a non-championship race for us.
Yeah.
So we just you took it seriously, but not super seriously. And, you know, it was wild. Like it was, I mean, you guys would have heard some of the Gold Coast stories and we probably can't tell a lot of them here, but it was like absolutely schoolies for adults. Like it was wild. And that was right through the growth period of Supercars. I mean, I was really fortunate in my career. Went from 98 to 25. Supercars started in 97. So it started as a business in 97 or 96, 97. So I got on the merry-go-round right at the beginning. And I was really fortunate to go through that growth period where the sport, you know, became mainstream and there was, you know, Channel 10 did such a great job with it and it just took off. And it went from this sort of, you know, period of guys that were successful, you like your Brocks, your Johnsons, your Larrys, all those guys, and then a few guys would turn up with cars on trailers and, you know, to like proper professional, like everyone turns up, everyone's got the right gear, everyone can do the job. Going through that period, I got to experience some cool stuff.
What do you think actually, everyone talks about it, the heyday, but what do you think was the heyday? You've been there for the whole time?
Oh, the peak.
What was it?
I feel like peak Supercars was probably 03 to 09, 10 in there somewhere. I feel like that was when it was like the growth was you know happened in that early 2000s. Like you talk about 2000 Bathurst and then from then on the growth period, and then I think it really sustained itself from 03, 04 to sort of 09, 10, 11 around that period. That was I think peak. That was like I look back and go, they were the glory days.
Yeah.
But you also got to remember, like, I was funny. I was watching the other day. I was watching some slow mos of the Gen 3 cars, and they were at Bathurst. And you just look at those cars and you go, man, such a cool looking race car, and they're actually getting better to drive. Like, they weren't great to drive at the start, let's be fair, but they're better to drive now. They're not that bad to drive when they're hooked up. So I think everyone looks back at their favourite part as the glory days. So there's people that I speak to that say the mid-'80s were the glory days of Australian Touring Car Championship, and I look back at it and go, man, some races they'd have 6 cars turn up. How can that be the glory days? But they love the cars. They love the Commodores. They love the Falcons. The Mazda was around. There was all that sort of stuff. So that was the glory days for them. And then I'll look back and go, oh, this is what I feel like the glory days. In 10 years' time, people will look back, like Sebastian and Jay will look back and go, this is the glory period.
Yeah.
So it's different for everyone. But I feel like supercars really arrived as a mainstream sport in the mid to late 2010.
It's a topic that we bring up with a lot of people that we obviously come in and interview on the podcast, but I always look back at the early 2000s to 2010 as like the heyday for me. And I think it's because, like, I remember seeing the Pink. Do you remember when they did the Pink season intro where you guys all went into the truck and she did the song?
Oh, yeah, yes. Oh, yeah, Pink the performer. Yes, yes.
Pink the performer.
Yeah, I mean, think about that.
Yeah,
like, what's the equivalent of doing that today? What would the equivalent of doing that today would be? Who would you get? I mean, you guys are closer to pop culture than I am. Ainsley?
Like Sabrina Carpenter or something.
Yeah, like she was humongous.
Yeah.
Humongous. And
she was humongous as a talent.
Yeah, as a talent. Humongous as a talent.
It's a massive name.
And like we always go back to like the product is so good today. Like the racing is so good, but it's just almost like the promotion of the drivers has been a little bit behind,
absolutely.
I would say. Because what they were doing back then was literally it's state of the art.
Yeah.
Like back then, the promoting of the drivers.
Yep.
Well, I don't understand. Were they bringing in more revenue then to be able to do that sort of stuff than net, or were they just, sort of pumping in more money to build the sport? Like, I don't understand how they did that back then, but not now.
Well, they spent a lot of money. I do remember it was, getting Pink to do that was.
Yeah, I remember I turned up for the gala in 2017 and there was Delta
Goodrum was there.
And now you get to the gala and you're like, who's this?
Yeah, I'm way back time machine guy.
What I mean? Like, it's like, were they just tipping in more money or what's happened?
I think there probably a bit more revenue then.
Yep.
For sure. I mean, go buy a can of Coke back in 2010, buy a can of Coke today, it costs a lot more. Everything costs more money. That's the reality of it. So the business costs more money to run, I'd expect, and there's probably less left over at the end of the year to go and do something like that. But to your point about the drivers and the personalities, I think, as a sport, we need to be doing, because there was a period where the cars were probably the ones that were selling the show. Like, you're a Holden fan, you're a Ford fan, you're a Commodore fan, you're a Falcon fan. That was it. Whereas now the cars aren't as relevant. Mustang and Camaro, I still believe they're poster cars. If the posters were still a thing and you were a 13, 14-year-old and you were into your cars, that would be on your wall as a poster. A tough-looking Camaro, a tough-looking Mustang. So the cars are there, but they don't invoke the same passion. So it needs to be the drivers, it needs to be you guys. And I think the sport has recognised that, but it's going to take a while. Like, it takes a little bit to get that going. And I think that's both sides. I think that's broadcast with us, giving you guys a vehicle to do it and feeling comfortable to do it, and you guys being comfortable enough to bring your personality out, and not just you two in particular, but the grid, to be comfortable to say what you want to say and don't feel like you're gonna get slaughtered for it.
I feel like there's a little bit of a resurgence. Like
there is, absolutely.
Yeah, you look back like 2010 and 11, and like people would say what they thought, and that was the cool part of it. And then I felt like really from when I've been at 2018, 19, it's just died off.
You know what I reckon's changed it?
What's that?
Social media.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you get direct feedback to your pocket, and like you guys at the end of the day will read what's going on, and if you've done something that someone doesn't agree with, it's direct feedback to your pocket. They'll find a way to get a message to you, whether it's on your page or direct message or whatever it might be, and it just gets to the point. I feel like it's
too much drama.
I just don't want that headache in my life. So you know what? I would call Will Brown a dodo for doing what he did, but it's just not worth some guy or someone. Saying it on social media and me having to deal with it later. I think it's that. So that's where I think if there's a way that the grid can get the confidence to be their characters. Because even you go on, I mean, I don't read a lot of social media because that's not the litmus test, but you get a bit of a general idea, I feel sometimes. And a lot of people say, I wish the drivers would be more characters. I wish we'd really see their true self. So then you do that. And then you get slammed for it.
It's the same person that goes, he's an idiot for saying, and then you're like, damn.
I know. So, yeah, to your point, you just go, it's just easier not to.
Yeah.
I feel like for us coming up through too, like that was the year that, Jamie was dominating for a long time. And Jamie was Jamie, he was his own person as well, quite, very calculated with everything that he said. And that became like the standard also too coming up. Like you had to be like him.
Yep.
And for us growing up, like our generation, that really affected our generation because everyone would go, you got to be like Jamie.
Yeah.
And then there was Scotty, then there was Shane, and then it's sort of now.
Well, Shane probably almost broke the mold a little bit.
I agree, yeah.
Because he was like, Shane, you know what Shane's like, Shane. Yeah. And then you're not changing him for anyone, regardless. So I think he's probably almost like the first resistance to that mold. And everyone was like, you can't do that. You can't be like that. Well, he didn't care. He continued to be like that. So, you just got to, and like, he's more than confident to be himself. And he didn't care if someone wanted to slag him to his face, wanted to slag him on social media. He didn't care. So it's just having that confidence, I think.
That is interesting. One of the things we didn't cover off as much as we wanted to before was Percat's year at Bathurst.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you choose him? Like you say back then, like a lot of the time that doesn't really happen anymore. Not so much. You don't choose your co-driver. You have input and all that sort of stuff and you have suggestions, but a lot of the time the team sort of go, we think this is the best. So you actually went, Percat's the one I want.
Yeah, I was involved with Nick when he first turned up at Walkinshaw. So he did Formula Ford, whatever year that was, 2008, 9, around there. And I was sort of, he was probably, I've done a fair bit of mentoring over the way. He was probably the first one that I'd spent any sort of meaningful time with. And that was from his Formula Ford days. He came from a very similar background to me, didn't have the money to do it himself. He and his family, they needed help. Walkinshaw's gave him a bit of help, gave him on their way. So I sort of helped him where I could. He was like the number 3. He was like the apprentice on my car at HSV dealer team. So I got to know him. And then in 2010, he did the Dunlop Series race up there and he did a mega job, like a really good job. I'm like, ooh, that was impressive, like really impressive. And then the team was saying, right, Percat's in the mix to be a co-driver. And it was Cam McConville and Percat. And I'd shared the car already with Cam in 2010. And Cam was great. I'd known Cam forever. We'd been teammates at Gary Rogers Motorsport. But I felt like Percat probably just had a little bit more speed on him. But the downside was he'd never done the 1,000K race before. And then it was a big deal. Like doing the 1,000K race is one thing. Yeah, great. Everyone's got to make their debut at some stage. But he was making his debut in the HRT car, which at that stage was a big, big thing. And so I'm like, well, if I feel like to give him the best possible chance, he needs to know as early as possible. So I was like, I think it was about March. I went to the team and said, if Percat's in the mix, I want him in my car. And they're like, really? I was like, yep. And I want to tell him now and I want to start work now. So we started in March and we were training. We had a personal trainer, Anthony Clarica. He was our trainer and sports psychologist. And we'd train every day and like 6 days a week we'd be training. So I'd see him 6 days a week and whether we were riding or running or doing swim sessions or in the gym, and every day we were talking about preparing for that race. Talking about the scenarios, what might happen here, what might happen there. Scaife was with Lowndes. Andrew Thompson was with Whincup. Those cars were probably going to be the 2 cars we were going to be racing. This is what Scaife's like. This is what Lowndes is like. This is what Jamie's like. This is what Tomo's like. And just so he knew everything. So he knew everything in June, July about what was going to happen in the race in October. So he didn't find out a month before the race to go, guess what? Nick Percat, you're going to share with Garth in the HRT car. Get yourself ready. Because he was ready. Yep. And so that was the plan behind that. It also helped that he was exactly the same height as me and exactly the same weight and like literally did not have to touch anything. And because he was a rookie, he didn't get to touch anything anyway. So it's get in and drive that car, do not touch a thing.
Yeah. Well, and I've probably heard you just brought up, but with Scotty Mack, he worked with them a lot over the time, but the sports psychologist side working with Percat and that, what's you did a bit of that over the time?
Yeah. So I started with Anthony in 2005.
Yep.
And I was really skeptical because this 2005 was quite early. Well, I don't know that there was many really working with sports psychologists in supercars at that stage. And I was really skeptical. I'm like, what do I need this guy for? I know what I'm doing. But I was like, I was always open to how can I make myself better? How can I be better as an athlete? How can I be better at processing things, thinking about things and all the rest of it? So it was more that I'm happy to do it because I used to train by myself, but didn't have a trainer. So I was like, I can certainly do with being fitter. So I'll use that and we'll see how we go with the sports psych stuff. And within 6 to 10 months, I was like, yeah, this is really good. I wish I'd done this, years earlier. And I worked with AK pretty much until I was like 12 years or something like that.
Wow, that's a long stint.
Yeah. So he's still in the Supercars paddock at the moment. He's working with Tickford now. So, he's, and it was more things, how you think about things, how you prepare a weekend, how you structure a weekend, all that sort of stuff. In the heat, and it's easy to say, I can be really calm and I can deal with it. But, like once it all starts and the adrenaline starts pumping and the red mist kicks in, you always fall back to old habits, bad habits, traditionally. Because you just go into automatic pilot effectively. So I had a few little errors that I would make when that would happen. So we could iron that out and make that better. So instead of being a fast driver that could win races, you become a fast driver that could win championships. Yep. And that was the difference.
So we sort of skipped ahead a bit, but you did 98, so mid 98 through to 2005 with GRM.
End of 2004. Yeah, 7 years. 7 years at GRM.
And then from there, 2005 was the HSV.
Yeah, HSV dealer team in 5, 6 and 7.
Yep.
And then went to HRT in 08.
Yeah,
was there till the end of 16.
And what were the biggest differences going from like Gary Rogers Motorsport to the dealer team back then?
Just resources, people. GRM was a great team. It was, and it fitted Supercars the way that the series worked in 98, 99 and 2000 because they were 3 20-minute sprint races. There weren't any pit stops. There was no strategy. It was like build a fast, reliable car, go out and drive it. That was it. So that it fitted the way the team was structured. It fit the championship in that era. But then in 01, 02 and from 01 onwards, effectively, there was longer races. There was pit stops. Strategy started to become a thing. And we didn't even have a full-time in-house engineer. So we had one engineer between the two drivers.
Wow.
And he was a contractor. So there was as strategy started, and HRT were at the front of that. They were very good at that. As strategy started to become a thing, we didn't, at the time, GRM didn't adapt and didn't see the necessity to evolve the race team. And I stuck it out for a while there, and I got to the point, I was like, and I loved Gary, absolutely, but he wasn't going to change. So I was like, well, if you're not going to change, then I need to go somewhere else. And so I told him at the beginning of 04, let's not even talk about a new contract at the end of this year. Let's just go our own separate ways.
Was that a hard conversation at the time?
Yeah, it was, because he gave me my first chance. Like I wouldn't have been a supercar driver if he didn't give me that test and do that first race meeting at Phillip Island, didn't stick by me in 98. I wouldn't be a supercar driver. So I had a massive degree of loyalty to Gary. But I could see that, after finishing second in the championship, winning Bathurst in 2000, the results were sliding and getting worse and they weren't getting better. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to give myself any sort of opportunity to have success again, I need to go somewhere else.
And did that deal come about pretty easily, the HRT?
No, I went shopping around for a little bit, went and saw some other dudes and had a look around. And then Murph was because then it was Kmart Racing. So it was Rick Kelly and Greg Murphy at Kmart Racing in the second team at HRT. And Murph wanted to move. He wanted to go and do something different. So he moved and I slotted into Murph's seat. And it was, pretty easy deal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you pretty much raced with them through to, for the couple of years and then won the championship in 2007. That was a pretty impressive year. I was looking at the stats recently because I think you won 4 rounds, but you actually DNF Bathurst, didn't you?
Yeah. So we, were going really well, both Rick and I in the championship. So I think we split up for Sandown and then we drove together at Bathurst. And car was fast. We were going really well. And there was only one difference between our car and the HRT car in the braking package is we used a different rear brake pad. Just Rick and I liked a particular compound of brake pad. And what we didn't find in practice and qualifying, and we found at the end of the first stint when Rick was driving, is that brake pad was getting too hot and boiling the brake fluid in the rear caliper. So then the pedal would just go to the floor. So Rick jumped on the brake pedal one lap towards the end of his stint. I had my helmet on, so we weren't far away from a fuel stop. And Rick jumped on the brake pedal at the end of Conrod, and the pedal just went to the floor, and then just grabbed the rears and speared him off and tore the front splitter off it. And we're like, So anyway, got back in, put the front splitter on it, and like Rick's like, got no brakes. I'm like, awesome, thanks. And took off, and yeah, we had no brakes. So we couldn't work out what was going on. We didn't know what it was. It was like just the pedals going to the floor. So we just kept bleeding the brakes, and that would fix it for a while because it would get fresh fluid in the caliper. So the fluid would work for a while. Then you'd boil it, and then the pedal would go long. And it got to the point where I was just like, this is dangerous. Like I was left foot braking just so that I could pump the pedal. And it got to the point where I couldn't pump the pedal the pedal wasn't coming back fast enough. So I'd curl my toes over the end of the pedal to pull the pedal back so I could pump it faster. And so anytime you touch the brake pedal, the pedal would just go to the floor and you had to pump it back up again. And I just got on the radio. It was about lap 80 and I was like, we can't keep doing this. We're literally going to write a car off doing this. And like, I think we were using Rick's car for Rick and I, and my car was the other car using it. So we're going to write some cars off here. We need to be racing at the Gold Coast in 2 weeks. Let's think about this. And the team, we retired the cars. So yeah, lost Bathurst.
Kind of a place that you need brakes as well.
It was still fast. I think when I jumped in and we had no brakes, I set fastest lap of the race, but it was sketchy. It was proper sketchy. So I only found out. I was the first driver to win the championship. Once Bathurst became part of the championship, I was the first driver to win the championship by DNFing Bathurst.
Yeah.
And then Chad's last year became the second one with his DNF.
It's just so many points, isn't it?
Well, back then it was a huge amount of points as well. So, but we were lucky because we won a lot of other races that year. So, so.
That was and it was pretty, well, I'm guessing the last round was pretty wild because you beat Jamie by 2 points. So was that
different point structure to what we have now?
Oh, right.
So back then you only got points to 15th. So if you didn't finish inside the top 15, you didn't get any points. And it was like 32 for a win. So it wasn't like what we have now.
Yeah.
So different point structure. So it was geared to be much tighter like that. So giving up those points at Bathurst was huge because we gave up a huge chunk of points because Jamie won it with Craig. So that cost us a lot of points. And then, going into the last round of the championship, I was 7 points behind. And then we won it by 2. So, it was tight. It was real tight. And it was the second year in a row that HSV Dealer Team and Triple Eight, or Team Vodafone as they were then, had big blues at Phillip Island because the year before was when Rick and Craig Lowndes had their big dust up and everyone claimed that Rick took Craig out to win the championship. And then the following year, it was the four of us running into each other just for us to win the championship the following year. So, it was pretty wild. There was protests and everything going on. It was good old school political motor racing.
And something that we were talking about earlier, but and it doesn't happen anymore. It's amazing thinking back. But the HRT party days, the Holden Racing, didn't they used to put on like epic parties?
No, there used to be a Holden drivers party.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Holden used to put the party.
You wouldn't see that happen now. Ford or someone put on a party.
No. So at the end of every year, Holden. So there'll be a lot of fans out there through that era that bought Holden flags. Like, you remember you see those red flags used to be waving on the side of the track everywhere. The profit from all of those flags went to the Holden drivers party.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's what we need. Something like that.
So we, there was this Holden drivers party, and that went for years, and they were wild days. Like there was times where. I think Shane came to his first one, and there used to be penalties for being a rookie, like you had to do a shot and all the rest of it. I think Shane was over and done with by about 11 in the morning. I had Dale Wood home one year at 10:30 in the morning. He was done and dusted. So, they were pretty wild.
Would have been funny, everyone going, why are these drivers promoting these Holden Racing flags so well every year?
The best job we did, the bigger the party was.
Yeah.
We had a good year one year where we got helicoptered down to Kangaroo Island for lunch. So we must have sold a lot of flags that year.
There was you missed out last year, but Ford tried to bring something, not a party, but they brought back like a driver gathering last year. And it was on the weekend of Tasmania, so we had to all go down early.
That was some bonding thing you guys did,
so it was like a Ford bonding thing, but instead of having a party, we had to build billy carts together.
Yeah, right.
That
It sounds very corporate.
It wasn't very fun. It wasn't enjoyable. But, yeah.
If you want, I can give you some notes on the Holden party. So if you want to
could you
recreate
maybe
that,
give us
I'll give you a top
a
point.
guideline of what to stick by?
Yeah, no problems whatsoever.
And actually, something that we had Ryan Walkinshaw on a while ago, but what about the Courtney, like yourself and Courtney era? Who's talking? Courtney came back, got pretty big money. He said you were like, yeah, I want that as well.
Yep.
So that was that a crazy era at the team, or what was that?
For what do you mean? For
Just
what?
in general, the racing. And...
No, it was competitive because James came to this team as the reigning champion. He won the championship at DJR, and DJR at that stage were in a bit of trouble. So he left and came to HRT. So he came as the champion and brought the number one and all the rest of it. And he was and was always a seriously fast driver. No problems whatsoever with that. Tough teammate. Really competitive as a driver, but also competitive off the track. So very, very savvy commercially and all the rest of it. So it certainly, you had to be on your toes all the time. But in saying that, everyone's like, yeah, these two will never work. They'll to kind of have two roosters in the hen house and all the rest of it. And man, we had such a good time.
Yeah,
Seriously, we had such a good time. We had a lot of fun, And it's funny now, we're both in the broadcast together. And seriously, we just picked up exactly where we were in the HRT days. Like we need to actually go and watch, because in that period, all of our conversations were quoting Will Ferrell movies and Adam Sandler movies and all the rest of it. And now we're like late 40s, early 50s, and we're still quoting Adam Sandler movies. Will Ferrell. We actually need to go and watch some different movies.
Yeah, right. So that was you. Did you and Courtney exit at the same time?
No, he stayed.
He stayed. And so that was end of 2016 that you got told.
Yeah, I left. I was told that they weren't going to renew my contract at the end of 2016.
Yep.
So I won the Sandown 500 in 2016 on a Sunday and was told on a Thursday, I think it was, that you're not going to get re-signed.
Far out.
Yeah.
Which I remember that race vividly, because that was when the guard
fell off.
The guard fell off.
Yeah.
And that was a
man, that made a noise. So going down front straight.
I remember listening to
pulled
it.
sixth gear and I couldn't see it. So I'm just pulling sixth gear and I was looking at the dash or doing something. And then it's just like whack. And I'm like, what was that? And because I couldn't see it. I'm like, did I hit something? What's going on? And then anyway, you didn't worry about it, get through the first sector and get on the back straight. And it's like taken forever to pull the next gear. I'm like, what's wrong with this thing? And then they're on the radio, the front guard is folded right back. And it was like, it had the aerodynamics of a brick after that. It was so slow.
I remember that race literally like it was yesterday, because it was when my cousins first pretty much started racing Super 2 when they got the 888 cars. And I remember watching that race, and you had that race won easily.
Yeah.
Like literally
10 seconds on Shane.
It was gone. Like there was no one was catching Garth, and then the guard flew off and it was like 4 tenths in a straight line, just like that. And it was like the Jaws music was coming in with all old cheese behind you.
Yeah. Because it's like, I've got him covered. But then, like your point, losing so much time down the straight. So then I'm like on the gas harder everywhere, and I'm just chewing the tyres off it. So it's just getting worse and worse. And I think it was a time certain race.
It was.
Yeah, because I think Golding went into the wall in the Volvo at the start of the race, so they red flagged it, fixed all the barriers at the end of the back straight, and luckily it was a time certain race, because if it went to full 161, we wouldn't have finished, or we wouldn't have won it. So
I guess talk about your second part of your career there. I guess with JC and I guess it was really sort of the car of the future that HRT really sort of
struggled with.
Really struggled. So why do you think that sort of happened? There was, I guess, times where you guys had success, but what do you think was the downfall?
There was a couple of things. I think our engine program, like in the period before that, our engine program was, so if you say 07, 08, 09, our engine program was the best program by far. Like we had good power, really good power. But we pretty much I feel like we pretty much ran the same spec engine. This is back when you could do engine stuff. We ran pretty much the same spec engine for 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
And so by the time Car of the Future came, our engine program was well behind. So I remember being at Bathurst, and we actually ended up with a pretty good car in 13, which was the first year of Car of the Future. And you come on to Conrod, and then they just go, phew, the KRE cars, like Brad Jones was using KRE engines, 888 obviously KRE engines, and they'd come on, leave Forest Elbow and just like disappear. And like you go through the chase, break 50 metres later, then catch back up again, and then they just disappear up Mountain Straight again. So that actually, we probably didn't recognise that until much later in the year, until we got to Bathurst. And there was a lot where they just sort of like, yeah, we're HRT, we know what we're doing. And by then the sport had changed and you know, it just didn't get on. It was less about the cars and more about the structure of the business and the structure of the race team. And it was sort of went through this period where we had a different managing director or a different team manager and all the rest of it every 6 months. There was no real stability in the race team. So that. And then once we sort of got the right people around, they're like, man, our engine program's no good. So then engine program got going again. And pretty much by the time we got to sort of 15 and 16, the cars were competitive again, but we didn't have the consistency of the other teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember like the engineering group was pretty consistent back through that period, but obviously there was the change in management over time. And it's sort of, you look back at, I guess we use 888 for an example, you know, at certain times when they were not falling off the perch, but they were starting to plateau, they'd, like RD would always go out and bring in someone else like Shippy or, you know, they'd obviously trained up Couchy and a few others or whatnot, whereas HRT always just had that, you know, there was always Starry, who was on your car at the time?
Alistair McVeigh.
So Alistair. And, you know, Alistair ended up going to Erebus and obviously you work with him at Groves now, and it's amazing talking to them now and seeing how much their world opened up when they go into a different team and they see how, you know, things can be done in so many different ways, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
that's right. And I mean, you always want to back the people in that you've got because you're always going to back them in. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was the constant changing of leadership. So that was always, oh, right, now we're going to do it this way and do it this way. And then, oh, okay, someone else comes in. Right, now we're going to do it this way. And the guys are going, well, what am I doing? Am I left-handed? Am I right-handed? Or what are we doing here? So I think there was a period of that and that sort of put the team on the back foot. And then once the sort of team started to get a bit of momentum going again, like I say, I felt like in 16 in particular, we had pretty good cars. Like actually we won, we were pretty fast, and certainly the second half of the year we were quite fast. But after that, I left and wasn't really my problem anymore.
You were obviously there then when Tom passed and Ryan took over. What was that transition like?
Well, that was tough. I think that was probably the start for HRT, where Tom was sort of sick, so he wasn't coming to Australia. He had a real presence about him, and there was a lot of respect because he knew the game and knew the game very well. And I mean, so that him not being around sort of left the team a bit directionless, I think. And then Ryan came and Ryan turned up with bleached blonde hair. That's right. That was gelled back, not product, but gelled back with one of those sort of headbandy things in it. And that was when Ryan turned up in a business suit at HRT. And I was like, what do you think you're going to do here with that? So it was, he was pretty green. He was, and like if he was sitting here right now, I'd tell him, man, you were green. But to his credit, he put his head down and started to understand the business. But that was part of it, you know, trying to find the right person to complement Ryan and all the rest of it. And that was a period that was pretty tough for the team.
Yeah, he was when we actually had him on here, we couldn't believe how young he was when he did.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah, he was 23 or something.
Yeah.
He did speak about walking in with the suit on and the slick back hair, and he's like, I think I got it wrong.
Yeah, well, if you're watching Ryan, you did.
One of the things that happened while you were at HRT Walkinshaw was 2016 when Jamie took out Scotty. And came back on. Scotty came back.
Oh, the Bathurst thing. Yes.
Yeah. We want to know your thoughts.
The
on
redress.
That. Yeah, the redress. Whose fault do you think that was? Did Jamie deserve the penalty?
Yes, because the redress ended up being. So the redress thing back then was if you felt you were guilty, you just fixed it on track, right? Yep. So the fact that the pass that he tried to put on Scotty that sent Scotty off into the grass at the chase, clearly Jamie in the moment was like, yeah, I was probably guilty. So that's an admission of guilt when you start to redress it, right?
Yep.
But he redressed it right as you pull fourth gear coming out of the chase. So you're already doing 220 or something like that. And so right where you're meant to be full throttle, he's hard into the brake pedal. So I come out of the chase and and he's on the brake. So I pull hard to go around him, go around the outside of him. At this stage, Scotty's in about seventh gear coming onto the track in the Volvo and comes on quite quickly and probably a dangerous re-entry. And I'm trying to go around Jamie and then bang, that was it. So So, yeah, the contact from Jamie sent Scotty into the grass, and then the redress from Jamie ended up, we were all out of position when we shouldn't have been. So, it's 10 years ago now, like 10 years this year. And Jamie, I know to this day, still was like, nah, I was in the right. And
the move was on.
That was Jamie, and absolutely. So I respect that. He'll to the day he dies, he'll say it was on, no problems. And to the day I die, I'll say, well, no, it wasn't on.
I reckon he'll come clean eventually.
You reckon?
I don't reckon he will.
No, I don't
We were
think he will.
talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, Scotty's move was a professional foul. Turned in on me. He's like, nah, he's still to the T.
So why'd he redress it?
Exactly. There's holes in the story.
He'll find a way to say why he did. Don't worry about that. Yeah, that was a huge one. It's just one of those moments that every year at Bathurst you see it playing on the screen.
Oh, yeah. No, it makes the highlight reel every year. And for me, because I was out the door at HRT at that stage. So I'm like, well, I'm going to try and win. And I think it had already said that HRT wasn't going to be HRT anymore. The Holden money was going to 888. So I was like, well, I'm going to try and win this last one. And we were at that stage in a good shot. We had more fuel than Jamie, definitely had more fuel than Scotty in the Volvo, because that thing drank so much fuel that it was a fuel race, and we were good for fuel for the end, but we never got there because of the safety car that those guys needed. They were in. So that was that.
Did you actually know, like you knew straight away that it was Scotty rejoined and it just clipped you?
No. Well, I was effectively trying to thread the needle. I knew Scotty was going to be coming back on, but as I've gone around Jamie, like we've all just converged on the one part of the track. And that was it.
It's always the worst when you know there's someone coming. It was like you at Christchurch when you were coming across the grass.
Oh, yeah.
I know he's there somewhere, but I don't know where.
Well, there wasn't a big dust cloud like there was for him. Like,
it's always that moment of
worst feeling.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually pretty wild, because I remember after it, I was just sort of getting, into supercars and in the junior ones, but RD came out and they were trying to take it to.
Yeah, I think they protested it.
They protested.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Now, I'm pretty sure he protested it. Which was standard procedure for RD. In those times. Like, he pretty much had the protest form ready there on the desk, ready to go, just fill in the details.
which was funny, because I believe it went quite far, but they actually shouldn't have accepted the protest because it was in race penalty. In race penalty,
yeah,
which you can't
I think
protest.
so. Yeah.
It's 2016 Gold Coast. We had up next.
What is this? This is your life. That was a bad one. That was on me.
Was that just? Were you just like both mucking around?
No. So he was in trouble with tyres, and I got to him, and he was carving me up pretty good prior to that. And I got to the point like, I'm done with you carving me up. I'm passing you. And we were heading down. You know when you go down Gold Coast and the front straight's not a straight. It's curves to the right. So we're sort of doing this. He's sort of chopping me, and I'm trying to get some overlap. So I'm there. And while this is going on, I sort of lost my reference to the wall on the right. So I'm feeling like I'm hard up against the wall, and he's squeezing me, and I'm like, I've got overlap. I don't care anymore. And stayed there. And then I hooked him and turned him around. Then you look the video afterwards and go, oh, man, you had a mile of room on the other side. You should have been able to avoid that one. So that was, 100% me. Yeah.
That was massive.
It was a big crash.
Yeah,
it was a big crash. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's one of those moments in the car that unfortunately sometimes you go to do something and you're like, oh God,
how did I end up here?
Yeah,
how did this happen? Yeah.
I guess it's kind of similar. Like, did you have red mist?
Yeah, a bit. I was like, not that I'm like, I'm going to put this guy on the wall. I've had enough of this. It was like, I've had enough of you just continually carving me. So I'm going to get myself into a position of overlap, and then you make the decision.
Yep.
But I got myself in a position of overlap, but I didn't get myself close enough to the wall where I had no other opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so that was on me.
You know me, Garth. I never get red mist. So, but I guess I had something similar with, Chaz at Christchurch. So can you explain how we could maybe deal with this a bit better moving forward? Say if I were to get red mist in the future.
Oh, well, you guys,
I never get it.
You guys use this amazing excuse now called wheel interlock.
I have never used.
Every time I hear you open your mouth, you're talking about interlocking wheels.
See, I find it hard, the red mist now, because everyone gets a bit hot under the collar. Someone's ruffling them up and that, but I find it hard these days because you're actually kind of allowed to hit other cars. Like, you're allowed to touch.
There's a degree of contact allowed.
There's a degree of contact allowed, where it used to be like any contact.
Yeah.
Especially when I first started, someone was going to get a penalty. Now you're kind of allowed. So you're like, you get that bit of red mist, you're like,
well, how far can I stretch this?
Yeah, that's right. So it's like, you got to hold yourself back even more. Where when you used to get it, you're like, can't even do anything about this. This is annoying. But now you kind of can. So it's an interesting one. Imagine if you had it back then, it would have been bigger.
I think, to be fair, I think where we've landed now, I'm going to get into the whole judicial thing, but where we've landed now, I think is, and I'm interested on your guys' take on it, is as good as we could probably get it. Like, we definitely do not want no contact, because that's not what touring car racing is about. There's got to be some form of contact. But I think we're probably in a position now where it's fair. If you bump and run someone, obviously, then that's not on. But if you're leaning on someone just to position them to your advantage, I think that's fine. I guess the challenge for you guys, because you guys are doing it now every weekend, is understanding where the line is, like how far you can go.
I feel like most people have a pretty good understanding of the line.
I feel like we do now.
Most of the time when if I get someone or they get me, I'm like, yeah, he's going to get a penalty. Like back in the old days when you know what is and isn't allowed. And I think I agree. I watch back the races and you go, I think they've got it right because it's interesting. It's great to watch. Everyone wants to see cars bumping and running into each other a little bit. Yeah. And you kind of know when you step over that mark now. Yeah. I think when it came about at the start of last year when Cam, with us, the first race, it was kind of out, you're like, what's going on here? How is that allowed? Yeah. But now, if you look back and knew the rules from now, you go, I kind of understand it. But that just set a precedent, didn't it? That this was kind of the new, which I think has been awesome.
I agree.
The growth in the sport last year, I reckon you can see massively. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that was a new championship format or Bathurst was amazing. The race was apart from you guys winning and not one of us.
That was pretty amazing. Come on.
But that was an amazing race. You watch back, we didn't have a great race, but you watch and you go, so good in the finals. So I think, like you say, it is probably the best place because as much as you love watching the NASCAR thing, you don't really want people to...
No, I don't think we want to get there where it's like, you got me last one, I'm going to get you this.
But it's not... We've got to remember too, NASCAR race every single week.
Yeah.
So they race 4 times sometimes before we do a race. So we see, as far as with how many people take each other out per race, it's actually quite low.
Yeah. It's just because it happens every weekend.
It's just because they race every single week.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, when we had the new, it's not even new rules because the rules haven't changed. But when the racing got opened up, for me, I come from racing over in the States where there was no rules. It was respect. So if you lent on someone and you didn't have a good reason to, you were going to get it back the next corner. So you learnt to race people, certain...
We had a degree of that as well. I remember as, you talk about that sort of golden era of supercars. If you'd raced Russell hard, he'd race you back hard. But if you turfed him, he'd turf you.
Yeah.
And Paul Morris was the best. If you turfed Paul, if you bumped and run Paul and you got away with it, you better be seriously fast through the next corner because he was coming for you. Yeah. So you knew that, but you knew that going in. Yeah. So you understood these particular guys, if I step over the line, I'm going to cop it back with interest, and then next time you don't step over the line. Yeah. So we had a degree of that as well, even back in my day.
Yeah, where I think it's we definitely, I guess when you go to your point of Cam, that first race last year where, it all sort of changed a little bit. To me, that wasn't, growing up racing in that sort of environment, right? So it's pretty good for me. I think we can work on it and maybe make it a little bit better in the future, but it's definitely
I think it's made the racing better, for sure.
Yeah. It's 100%. Way better because we do go to tracks where it is Christchurch was pretty hard to pass. So you need to be creative with what you're doing in the car to make it work. And that's what we want. That's what we need. We need to be able to use tools to make moves because our wheels are covered, unless you're Chaz, they're uncovered and it's,
you get interlock.
Yeah, that's right. You get interlock, but which you do. So, but the caterer is working on that too. So we're good. We can smash doors way more now.
Yeah,
bring it on. It's great for my job. Keep it up.
Yeah, that's right. I think the racing's been great. And when you watch it back, it's just everyone run there's argy bargy. It's always good to watch.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So end of 2016, then we go into 2017. You go back to GRM.
Yep.
What was that? That was good.
That was good. That was a plan to drive there for a period of time and then end up in team management.
Yep.
And actually own a percentage of the race team as well.
Right.
So Gary knew that was something that was on my radar from the first time I was at GRM. Went back there and I went back there originally to drive the Volvo. It was going to be drive the Volvo because that was a seriously good car. And they were in court with Volvo and there was all sorts going on with who owned the engines, who owned the cars and all the rest of it. And in the end, that we didn't run Volvos, we ran Commodores. So I ended up we had a Walkinshaw engine deal, which by that stage the engines were good. So we're using Walkinshaw engines and built our own chassis and away we went.
And your first, I remember your first round at Adelaide. You ran third on the Sunday.
Oh, that was
Or
in
fourth?
that was the next year in the ZB.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So that was the second year in 2018. Yeah. So we built, because the Volvo thing happened late, and it's not like we had to basically, the Volvos got shipped back to Sweden, back to their museum, and like literally there was nothing in the car base. It's like start again, and this was like late December, and we built. I think we had to build 4 cars because they had 2 Dunlop Series cars and 2 main game cars, and so we did all that before the first round, and then like 12 months later ZB came in, so we had built 2 more ZBs. So in like in 15 months, we built 6 or 7 cars. It was full on. Yeah, really full on. So, yeah, the ZB, when we rolled that out at Adelaide, we put it on the podium straight away, which was pretty cool.
Did you have many good results throughout the two years?
Yeah, a couple of podiums. There was a Phillip Island race there where everyone was puncturing, delaminating tyres and exploding tyres, the right front tyre. And Richard Holway was my engineer, Krusty, and he and I had been to Phillip Island heaps of times in the past and knew that the front tyre was always an issue. And he's just got on the radio really early and said, it's going to be one of those races. They're all going to do tyres. And so I knew how to drive the car in a particular way. And we qualified like 19th or something and finished 3rd because everyone just exploded tyres. And we just carved our way through and got to, and then, so yeah, that, had a couple of good races at Darwin. Yeah, had a few podiums along the way. After I was at GRM in a ZB Commodore in 2018, and then I went and drove the 888 ZB in 2019. I was like, man, I wasn't even close driving the GRM car. Like, man, we weren't even in the same race.
You could have been the best driver on the day.
Well, I did the co-driver session. We had a co-driver session at Simmons Plains in 2019, so I drove Shane's car in that. And that's the first time I properly drove the 888 car. And on co-driver tyres, and you guys have been co-drivers before, so you know the quality of the tyre you get as a co-driver in those sessions. On co-drivers' tyres, I was quicker than what I qualified the GRM car at the previous year in the co-driver session. And I'd had 3 sets of tyres or whatever it was to set the time in the GRM car. I was first time down the back straight in the 888 car. I was on the rev limiter for so long. I got on the radio. I said, "You guys got the wrong diff ratio in it." They're like, "No, that's right." And I'm like, "Oh man!" Like, barely got the rev limiter in the GRM car.
Just free time. Really.
Oh man, it was So it was. That was like I was like, we were certainly fighting for the scraps when we were at GRM compared to those cars. Yeah.
Something that
we don't see today. You don't see that today because
those days are over.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
We were talking about it like I remember back then. LDM and places like that, people like that being around, like it was just the competitiveness now is just crazy. I don't even know of a bad team in the category right now.
Oh, well, look at what Blanchards have done this year from last year, how they've turned it around and the speed that they've got in those cars. Like they were at Topor in New Zealand last year, they were last by half a second.
Yep.
And this year they're inside the top 10 like nearly every weekend. Yeah. So the ability that if you get the right people in the right places in any of these teams, they're capable of winning races, which is fantastic.
Okay, we thought we'd get into thanking some of our sponsors that make these episodes happen. So Quadlock, if you don't know what Quadlock is a mounting system that securely attaches your phone to bikes, cars and more. Built for people who need their phones accessible and stable on the go, whether you're on your bike, in your car, at a desk or even flying your plane. I've been using Quadlock for a while now and I've never had it fail. To get your own setup, head to quadlockcase.net and use code LUCKYDOGS10 for 10% off site-wide. Make sure to use our discount code so Quadlock knows we sent you.
Another one of our great partners is the Lancaster Motor Group. They've been a part of the podcast since the very start, so thank you to those guys. So make sure you go show them some love. But the Lancaster Motor Group is your go-to destination for a brand new or pre-owned vehicle, or expert servicing and parts. They deliver across multiple brands. We have an announcement. The May merch winner for Lancasters and Lucky Dogs is Scott Fabrication and Paint. So congratulations to those guys. They had a service with our workshop, so they went into the draw for a merch pack. So keep an eye on the mail for that one. If you want to buy a new or used car or book it in for a service, check them out at lancastermotors.com.au.
And our final one is KMC Wheels, which is Wheel Pros Australia. It's home to brands like American Racing, Fuel Off-Road, KMC, Rotiform, Matigi Racing, Black Rhino, and more. And to be honest, I had a cool moment today because Cam Waters actually hit me up behind to another guy and said, "Do you know where I can get some American Racing wheels for my Cobra?" And I looked at it and said, "Mate, I can help you out there." So he's pretty excited that we can sort him out. But we just attended their open night in Brisbane, and it was such a cool night. They had all their products lined up for their customers, and it was awesome just to see the whole range on display. So visit wheelpros.com.au today and find the perfect fit for your car. we've got down the 5th of January. You find out that GRM says no longer needed, not racing this year. How did that come about? But also, I want to know more because you said the reason you moved there as well was to try and own part of the team and everything like that. So that would have felt like a bit of a backstab because you wanted to stay there. Yeah, like how did that all happen?
I was away on holidays in Japan over Christmas with the family, and Gary rang me when I was away and said, need to have a chat when you get back. Got a couple of things about next year, as in 2019. I'm like, yep, no dramas. Because in the last round of the previous championship, which was Newcastle, we had a pretty good run. I think we finished fifth or sixth. And we'd switched from Olin's Damper to Super Shock just for that weekend.
Really?
Yeah, we did a deal to run them. And we went really well. So I thought Gary was like, wanted to talk about shocks because it was like, we're going to have to go spend 70, 80 grand to convert over to dampers and all the rest of it. So like, yeah, no worries. I'm back on the 4th. We'll meet on the 5th. So I did. And that meeting I walked in, they said, we got a new major sponsor for the team. I'm like, oh, fantastic. That's great. But part of the deal is that they're bringing a driver. I'm like, okay. And it's going to be James Golding and Richie Stanaway. I'm like, okay, what does that mean for me? Oh, well, you won't be driving. I was like, right. So I don't remember much of that meeting after that. So they offered me co-driver gig, obviously. They were going into TCR. They said, we're going to do TCR. You want you to be part of that and still obviously want you to talk about, some management within the race team. And I'm like, I need to leave right now. Let's talk again later. And that was the last time I went to GRM.
It's kind of hard. Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to work with them again.
Well, that was my rationale. I was like, if they were serious about me being part of the management and the direction of the race team in the future, they probably would have said to me, I would have thought you would have said to someone prior to that drop dead point where you go, okay, Garth's not driving anymore. It's like, hey, Garth, we're meeting with this major sponsor. One of the outcomes could potentially be this. And that's okay. Well, let's have that discussion. Let's talk about that.
If they wanted you to come into the team as a partner, you could have sold it in the way that, it brings more money. You're coming into the team, all that sort of stuff. You might have at that stage gone, that sounds right. But
so after that, I was like, I don't think I want to hang around and be part of that. Yep. So, history sort of says I made the right choice there.
Did you not have a contract for that year?
There was a contract, but it was very loosely worded.
Yep.
So, and I we probably weren't sharp enough on the contract there because of the previous relationship I had with Gary, and it was, and we were going into this next phase with all the right intentions and all the rest of it, but it just didn't work out. So, it turned out that I only did 2 years of driving there and then went and did something else.
And what was going through your head like after that? So obviously you would have had a couple of, weeks to work out what your next move was going to be.
Well, I didn't have that because, the championship was starting late February, I think it was that year. And by the time early January comes around, all the seats are done.
Yeah, they're full.
And I'm like, and I'm not going to go and drive just for the sake of driving. Like I was at that stage, I've done enough in the category that I'm not just going to go and drive a car because I need to drive a car. So, I knew that Triple Eight. So I can't remember the dates, but I think this was like early in the week. And then I knew that Triple Eight were announcing on the weekend or doing their livery reveal, right? And I also knew that Craig was going to be driving with Jamie, and because Craig retired at the end of 2018, so I knew Craig was going to be driving with Jamie, and they hadn't really said who was going to be with Shane. And I knew that when they do their livery reveals, they would always announce their co-drivers. So got on the front foot pretty quickly and got in contact through Tim Miles with RD. And that was like deal was done 24 hours.
Crazy.
Yeah. So whose career did you supposedly ruin?
I've got a book coming out, guys, and it's in the book, actually.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's in that. So you can find out about that in September. End of September.
Right, okay, that's cool.
Where's it going to be available to buy?
All good bookshops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just give you the opportunity full plug, but we would like one sent to here, please.
Would you?
So we can nail it to the wall.
I'm more than happy to send one here at full retail price.
Brody can pay for that one. It won't be cheap, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure we can do a deal. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, right. And you didn't. So obviously a few years have passed by since that, and you haven't looked again back into a team. Like that sounds like it was a bit.
I got people asking me to come back full time.
Yep.
But at that stage, I'm like, yeah, you know, I had done a deal with Triple Eight to drive that car, and I'm like, well, man, I could, you know, I'm a chance to win Bathurst every time we go there with this car, and with Shane. So there's that, and you know, I sort of done at that stage. What was it? 2018. I had 20 odd years of full time. You know, I had my turn, and I was 42, 3, something like that. So I was, I mean, to go to a new team, it's like a minimum 3-year deal to get it really rolling. And at that stage, I was like, no, this is that part of my life's done. This time, I've got a really good opportunity here. And RD said to me at the time, he goes, you got 4 good years in you as a co-driver. I was like, yeah, no worries. I did it for 7. Still won on the 7th.
What was it like working with Shane?
Yeah, great. So we'd been speaking for a while. He sort of said to me, when you've done, we should drive together. And I'm like, yeah, cool, that'd be cool. And even RD a few times through the journey, it was like, one day you'll drive one of my cars, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, RD, you know, blah, blah. And then when I rang him and said, no, you said one day that I'd drive one of your cars. Well, how about it? So, yeah, working with Shane was great. It's a very different unit. So, you know, I mean, you guys know Shane. He's a different cat. But I knew him quite well because we'd done a bit of stuff together. We'd been teammates in Tony Quinn's GT team when he was racing McLarens. We'd been teammates doing that. We'd raced against each other a lot. So I knew him quite well, but getting that close to him was really interesting. I reckon I learned as much in those couple of years as a co-driver with Shane as I did for a lot of my full-time career. So I learned a lot from Shane. Yeah.
What sort of stuff is that?
How he managed the tyre.
Yep.
His ability, how he did it and how he went about it. And also his ability to think when he's driving. So you think about the racing brain as a computer. Most drivers use about 80% of their processing power to drive, actually just driving the race car as fast as it'll go. And then you've got about 20% left over to think about strategy and bits and pieces and whatever you might have, what else, peripheral stuff. I reckon Shane uses about 30% of his CPU to drive the race car fast. Yep. So he's got this so much more capability to think about all this other stuff that's going on. So what can we do with strategy? How can I drive the car differently? What can I do with anti-roll bars? You know, you've all seen that vision of Shane on the anti-roll bars, how he changes the bars 27 times a lap and all the rest of it. His capacity to think on the run, I think, is far greater than anyone I've ever seen.
We had Will's engineer, Eddie, the...
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah.
I was with him in 22 as well. So yeah, he's a ripping guy.
How good is he?
He's a ripping guy.
What's his Insta handle again?
Eddie Rock Dog.
Eddie the Rock Dog. Yeah, Eddie the Rock Dog.
We rang him on the weekend just gone, and he's like, that's it. You got to shut the podcast down. After he saw him, we're like, mate, you said you know what I mean 178 times. He's like, no, I didn't. The poor bugger. He was like,
he's so embarrassed.
Oh, it was quite funny though.
He's such a good guy. He's a ripping guy.
I'm sure he would have been out with you the Sunday night.
He's an animal. Isn't he?
Yeah.
Man, that one thing I learned about Andrew Edwards, holy smokes, he knows how to party.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? I didn't know what he meant at the start, but I did by the end. Far out.
He's exactly like that. I remember first race meet I did with him, he's like all just real serious and that, and then we won at Bathurst because the Bathurst 500, right. We went out and I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah. I think 1 year at Adelaide, it might have been 23. Shane won or something like that. And Andrew had a big night, and I was at Groves by this stage working with the Grove guys, and I think Shippy found him in a gutter somewhere. Well, the DJR guys found him in a gutter and put him in a cab and sent him back to the hotel. Poor old AE.
I remember this story.
Yeah.
Some of the old
we probably shouldn't be telling the story without him here today.
Yeah. Oh, no, you couldn't really defend yourself. He loves Run Home. That was actually leading us into I guess a video that a lot of people have seen, an interview, is Bathurst when you won the next morning. Shane having to go spew. That was great.
He did spew. He didn't want to go spew. He did spew. So it was a big night that night. So I got home about 3:34. He got home at 6, and we had to be up at 6:30 to go. So, you know, you probably stayed at the same house at Bathurst where we all stay. And so old mate's there, and he's still pretty sideways. And we're trying to get him dressed. he's going, I can't find my socks. And I'm like, don't worry about your socks. Just put your shoes on. I can't walk if I don't have any socks. And he's just like fixated on his socks. So anyway, I think he put some of my socks on him. Right, you got some socks. Get your shoes on. Let's go. And like he's still completely drunk. So we turn up, and it's we did Channel 9 first, the Today Show, and then we did Channel 7. And it's in the sup regs that you have to turn up to these things. So if you don't turn up, it's like a sporting fine. So you could potentially get something from the category. I don't know what they do, but they do something. So old mate's turned up, and they've got us the lapel mics on and all the rest of it. And he's like white as a ghost. And he's like, Carl Stefanovic does the, oh, guys, congratulations, great race. And Shane's looking like death warmed up, just standing there. And then he just says, like, I don't even remember what the question was. And Shane clearly didn't even hear it. He's just gone, I just want everyone to know that I was here. And that was it. He's just walked off camera, and he's just like behind camera spewing his guts up. And I'm trying to be straight down the barrel delivering. And Carl's like, oh, clearly you guys had a big night last night. I was like, yeah, well, big night, Carl. And I sort of try and steer in the ship and get it all back on track. And old mate's throwing his guts up over here. So I'm not the greatest. I'm in Struggle Street as well with old mate vomiting over there. So we get through that one. And Carl was great because Carl's, you know, if those of you know, Carl's been to a few Logies nights and Sunday night, and then turns up on the Today Show the next day, and he's a bit sideways. So he was great. He got it. And then we did Sunrise next, which was Channel 7 one. And he was slightly better with that one, but still, like, he was speaking Swahili when we were all speaking English. So
did anyone in the team get up him after?
Jess did. Yeah, Jess did. She was there running it all. She was into him. So, that was Shane. I mean, it's Bathurst. I mean, what do they expect? It's Bathurst.
Yeah, that's right.
Monday morning. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
You would know what that's like, wouldn't you?
Well,
Yeah.
the championship, I remember I did the championship and I had to be up at 6 a.m. the next
Straight over his
morning.
head.
Yeah.
What was that?
I know what you're saying.
I didn't know what he was saying. I
Yeah.
missed it completely.
Bathurst Monday morning after winning.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't get
Maybe
it.
this
Yeah.
year will.
Hopefully this year. But yeah, it is always weird how they do a 6 a.m.
Oh,
or
man.
7 a.m.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
brutal.
But it probably makes it better.
Oh,
Let's do
certainly.
it.
Hey, man, that would be have the most YouTube views, that interview
100%.
on Monday morning than
Oh,
any of the others.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
That's great.
He was better the second time. He was certainly better the second time.
So what about the other famous video when he's got your suit on and he's
Yeah.
"Oi, mate,
I didn't know
I'm on a
about
hot
that till later, and it's still turning up
I
now.
was
Yeah.
there for that.
Yeah, you guys were out of
I
control.
was in a bit of trouble.
You were,
about
and
that
I
one.
had to race you the next day.
I was
and I only
there.
just beat you.
Did you beat me?
Yeah, so that was in the GT
TCR.
round, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Tail and Ben GT
Yeah.
round.
TCR first year was quite a bit of fun. Like, it was like TCR came out and everyone was like still, you know, it was more of like a junior category where people would go have beers. And I was there for it. And Shane just rolled out.
How'd you get into the truck?
I don't even remember the
Because
truck
this is late.
story.
It's like late. So I was doing TCR and GT. Old mate was over here doing TCR, and Shane was doing GT. And they were on the beers
But
together.
GT finished it Saturday.
Yeah,
It
so
didn't
I
race
had to
Sunday.
hang around for Sunday because I was doing
Yeah.
TCR as well.
Oh, Shane conned you into drinking, didn't he?
Oh, it was just
Yeah.
like one of those nights that just ended up going a bit sideways. But
I still don't know how you got into the truck.
Well, no, I don't remember that either. I reckon somebody had the code.
You must have had a
because
few more drinks than just a couple.
No,
there,
well, it was the truck was already open. All those boys were already in there. So I think there was like some of the older GT drivers in there. But yeah, apparently the next day, so one of the mechanics had spewed in the truck
Oh,
and
really?
all of this. So
Oh, I
Troy
didn't-
wasn't happy. But yeah, he rolled out in your suit.
I know,
and
he's got
helmet.
my suit and helmet on, and it's like my suit's painted onto him because he's bigger than I am. And I didn't even know about it for ages until afterwards. And this video turned up with him being a smartass. So, yeah, and now still, like, he turns up on, like, NASCAR Twitter feeds and all
Yeah,
They
sorts.
put it on Instagram after he won the other day.
Oh, yeah.
They
Was that
did like
you?
a full edit. No, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
NASCAR did it.
I'm
I don't know
sure-
how it got out so far because I remember seeing it like 2 years ago because obviously been mates with Shane for a while. And it was always like an inside joke. But what did it actually mean when he was saying, obviously it's an inside joke.
Oh, he's taking a piss out of me. Oh, I got held up. Rah, rah, rah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's what he
I
always
was on
said.
a hot lap,
You're always
yeah.
on a hot lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always,
He's
there was
taking-
always something.
he's
Yeah.
taking
But
a
it starts
piss out
like,
of
oi, mate.
Yeah, he's
For some reason.
I think I remember he did the video and then somebody was saying they're going to put it out and he's like, no, Garth won't be happy that I was wearing his helmet and his suit or something. So I think
Man,
that's
I-
why it got held for a while.
Did we
Yeah,
see a
right.
replay?
Yeah, put it up.
Yeah,
Put it
I
up.
haven't seen it for ages.
It's got the wrong oil brand on it now, but Hey, he's never worked with that Aubrey. I still use that helmet. That's my go-karting helmet now.
I wouldn't put it on after that.
No, he probably vommed in it.
So after all of this happened, and obviously you got to do some great races with Shane, I actually didn't expect this to happen at the time, and you made the switch to Groves.
Yeah, no one did.
No one saw. Did Triple Eight see that coming? Or
Jamie and I were backwards and forwards on a couple of...
so Roland had gone.
Yeah, Roland had gone. Jamie had taken over. He was managing director then. So all the previous deals that I had done to that point. So I did 2 deals, 2-year deals with RD. And then this was the next one. And so Jamie and I were sort of backwards and forwards on a couple of clauses, which is also explained in the book, Will. So you'll have to read that. But it got to the point where David Couchy just rang me out of the blue. Because at this stage, Couchy was at Groves, Grant McPherson was at Groves, so guys that I'd worked with at Triple Eight, and Couchy rings me. He's now the team principal at Penrite Racing, and says, "Any availability as a co-driver next year?" And at that point, yes, there was, because nothing was done at Triple Eight. So I'm like, well, actually, if as you ask, yes, there is availability. What do you want to talk about? And then we started talking. And never got to the point where we finalised the Jamie thing. We never agreed on the clauses that I wanted in the contract. And the Grove deal just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Not that I was holding out, but these guys were like clearly interested in getting me across. And it was going to take, it was obviously a big leap of faith for me to leave Triple Eight to go to a team that hadn't done anything at that stage. I was like, it got more and more attractive and got to the point where it was like, I think this could be something interesting to do.
Do you think, Jamie, when you rang him and told him you'd signed with Groves, he was unhappy he didn't accept
I didn't
those
tell
terms?
him. I didn't tell him where I went.
Oh.
So I rang Shane. The first person I rang was Shane when I'd agreed to the Grove deal. I rang Shane first, told him, and he got it. He's like, yeah, I get it. He goes, I'm disappointed, but I get it. And so he was cool. I rang Roland because he was still executive chairman at Triple Eight of all the owners. Rang RD because he was the man that brought me to Triple Eight. And then I just sent Jamie an email, said, that's it. That we're done.
Just like that.
Yeah, and he was fine. No, it was fine.
I feel like there's more to this story.
Oh, you can read all about it, Will.
Yeah. Can we get a little clip in here? We just need a Speed Cafe article or something just to keep popping up there.
You for your viewers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's interesting. But obviously the Groves deal was pretty...
It was interesting. I mean, everyone, you went there for money. The money was the same as I was getting at Triple Eight. It was simple. So I was getting the same money as I got at Triple Eight. But I got a lot more... involvement with the team. And look, I wasn't seeking involvement with the team at Triple Eight because, I was a plug your co-driver in, do your job, and that was my role at Triple Eight, as is still the role with the co-drivers at Triple Eight. But I was given this opportunity at Groves to work with Matt, to help mentor him and bring him along, which was something that was interesting to me. I'd done that obviously with Percat back in the day. I did a little bit of that with James Golding when I was at GRM as well. And so I'd actually also, the reason that I had exposure to the Groves is the first year I was at Triple Eight were running Dunlop Series cars for Kurt Kostecki and Brenton Grove. Brenton was there as a Dunlop Series driver. So Craig was mentoring Kurt and I was mentoring Brenton to help them with their Dunlop Series. So that's how I met Brenton. So Brenton's like, we'd be interested. This could be interesting, having Garth. And then obviously I'd worked with Couchy and with Shippy, and I'd worked with Alistair McVeigh a lot, who's there still. So I had a lot more scope to be involved with the race team, with Matt, helping him, with set up direction with Gen 3. That was year one of Gen 3. So there was a little bit of concern with Matt with his lack of experience with supercars that, might not have the right direction of the team. So to help with that as well. So it was a far more overarching deal to be more involved with the race team. So, and then that turned into, mentoring Kai when he turned up. And then sort of now getting more involved with the strategic direction of the race team Like today, I wouldn't know what front spring they're running in the car. I wouldn't know what the rear ride height is. None of that's no interest to me. It's what's going on in 5 years' time. So at a race weekend, I would rarely walk into the Penrite garage as much as I'd walk into the Triple Eight garage or the DJR garage.
You were pretty heavily involved for a bit.
Yeah.
I thought you were full time.
Oh, it was a day a week on average.
That's
Sometimes
full time for a race car.
Yeah, that's
that's
the first time I've ever had an office. I actually had my own office there. It's like, what are you doing this for? I don't need this. Just give me a desk in the corner somewhere. So it was a day a week sort of thing would be on average, sort of how it worked out in there. That's on top of whether you're going in for pre-briefs and debriefs. So even as a co-driver, when I was there as a co-driver, I went to pretty much every pre-brief, every debrief, all that sort of stuff. And that was to help Matt and Dave, even when he was there in year one, and Richie when he was there in 24, and particularly now with Matt and Kai in last year, just to continue to help them with their information, their communication, how they describe the car, how they communicate, interact with their engineers, because the sport now is you're not going and designing a new front upright, or you're not going and designing a new anti-roll bar. So how you guys communicate with your engineers so the engineers can come up with the best possible solution to make the car goes faster, that's the currency in the category now. So the better that the drivers can be at that, the better that ultimately they'll be able to communicate with the engineer, the better decisions the engineer makes, hopefully the faster the car goes.
Yeah, communication's everything.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's literally the currency.
Yeah.
But it must have been a pretty rewarding feeling for yourself. Obviously, coming in to Groves, mentoring Matt through into Supercars, and obviously winning Bathurst, and then retiring from co-driving.
Yeah. Well, the plan, there was no set in stone thing that I was retiring last year. But back to the Matt thing, it was particularly rewarding winning with him, obviously because I'd sort of been working with him really intensively in 23 and 24. And then as they get more experience, you sort of taper off, the hardcore stuff and just give him sort of little bits here and there. But then, a lot of people forget that he crashed in 24 at Bathurst. So I shared the car with him in 24, and he crashed at the cutting. And we were running 5th or 6th at that stage, and he crashed, and that was it, race over. So for him to come back 12 months later and in those conditions race the way that he did and deal with the pressure the way that he dealt with it, that was very, very satisfying to see and be part of. That was special. But then also holistically, the whole race team, being part of that. It's funny, I think I got out of the car around lap 90 or something like that, and I put the radio on, and my radio has communication with all the executive in the race team. And I basically spent the rest of the race in the other role as being part of the management of the race team, not being, the co-driver guy.
Yep.
And it was sort of a bit surreal. I was like, with 10 to go, I was like, oh shit, we might win this. Oh shit, that's right, I was driving the car because I was going to go get changed. I'm like, I'm done, I'll go get changed and put civvies on, and because it was bloody freezing up there. And then I'm like, 10 to go, I was like, oh shit, we could win this. Well, I'd probably keep the suit on. And then you're like, oh, don't say that, you just you dudded yourself. Why do you think you need your suit on? What makes you think you're going to the podium? But yeah, it was a pretty surreal day.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I think I didn't get the opportunity when I finished full time to dictate how it was going to happen.
Yep.
And I was like, so I was contracted to do at least one more year. I was contracted to race this year as well. But I'm like, well, probably not going to get another opportunity like that to just go, you know what, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good way to finish it. So I spoke with the Groves, and they were great, and that was that.
Yeah, well,
drop the mic, walk off.
Walk off. Yeah, that's always, you had a career that you probably, I look back at your full time, how they did it, and you kind of didn't get your farewell. That you would say.
No, that's true. And I didn't want I didn't want the full victory tour final lap, any of that. That's not me. But what I did want is when I knew it was going to be my last full-time race, have my parents there, have all the people that were important to me on the way up.
Yep.
So like the guys that I was involved with karting, like Brett from Fastlane, personal sponsors that you've had along the way that have been an important part of the journey, have all those people there and just put him in a corporate box and as a way to say, this was a really cool journey. Thanks for being part of it. But I didn't get that opportunity. That's what I was frustrated and disappointed that I didn't get that chance. So that even going to Bathurst last year, I certainly made sure the kids were there. My partner Cyan, she was there. I was going to have my mum there, but she went off on a cruise. She was busy on holidays. So just having the kids and Cyan there was like, yeah, this is, and then winning the race was like, yeah, that's it. That's pretty cool. Mm.
That is cool. We actually also found out that you actually did some coaching with Kai. Is that right? When you were, when did you coach with Kai?
So I first came across Kai Allen. The very first time I came across Kai Allen was 2016 Australian Kart Championships Awards Night. So SP Tools used to sponsor the Australian Kart Championship, and they were also sponsor the Holden Racing Team. So I had to go to this kart award thing because this is back before we were involved with karting with the kids. And this kid, Kai Allen, kept going up and collecting awards. I'm like, geez, this kid's wearing the carpet out, man. Far out. He just keeps walking up on stage. And he was like 3 foot tall. He was like, I don't know, he was 12, 13 years old. And I'm like, man, he spoke really well. And he clearly was good in karts because he'd won everything. I'm like, whoa, just put that name back of your head. Just put that back there. And then Brett Lupton from Fastlane rang me. He goes, I've got this kid, Kai Allen, coming over to do some laps in a Formula Ford. And at this stage, Kai, I think, was 14 or 15. And he goes, I want you to come over and run him for me because I think he could be good. So Brett flew me over, which he never done. He's flown me over and said, run this kid in the Formula Ford for the afternoon. And Kai, at that stage, Kai had never been to Perth, never been to Wanneroo Raceway, never been in a Formula Ford. He'd driven a Radical, I think, for like 10 laps. And he went out, and within an hour, he was under the pole time from the previous race weekend. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I remember this kid. This kid was good. So it's like that little, in the back of your head, that was like a little bit bigger. I was like, yeah, right, certainly keeping an eye on this kid. Because the view was that Brett and I were getting our Formula Ford team going again, and we were going to run Kai in Formula Ford, but that didn't eventuate. And then so Kai went off and did his thing and did Toyotas and then Super 3 and Super 2. And I said to the Groves, I was like, man, if this kid becomes available, we need to seriously consider whether he's worth getting. I've seen him from when he was in go-karts. This kid's the real deal. So he became available and they got him. So I started working with him again when he turned up at Groves.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty cool. I'd sort of had a similar, like I met Kai for the first time in Gambia when COVID was happening, and was with the Gazard family out there.
Oh, yeah.
And he was out on this farm where they had all these paddock bashes, and he was so small.
Yeah, he's tiny. Yeah.
Like he's had a really big growth spurt now.
Yeah.
And he's got a mullet and he's a big dog. And his voice is
he was too big, actually. I gave him a pull through the other day. It's right. You're too big. Get a bit.
Yeah. He's changed a lot.
You're in the paddock a bit too good. Been in the good paddock for a bit too long.
Yeah, he's been stocky. Yeah, he's been out a lot. But so which is a good thing, it's worked for me. But I remember driving with him in the paddock, and we're like paddock bashing, and I'm racing against him. Then I'm in a passenger seat with him, and I called Paul Morris afterwards, and I said, Kai, this kid Kai, like I think he's going to be really good. Like, you can just spend a bit of time with someone, you just know by the demeanor, attitude, what he was doing in a paddock basher. He was obviously had free CPU left.
Yeah,
like
that's right. Yeah,
free space left. He could think ahead. And I'd spent a bit of time with him there, and obviously fast track to where he is now. It's like no shock to myself or yourself. There's obviously, being successful, which is really cool. So
you could see it. When they're young, you can see it. Like I remember you doing Formula Ford at Sandown at a state series round. I think it was probably your first or second race meeting, and we end up, because it's like a state series, you end up sharing a garage with these randoms, and you were a random that we were sharing a garage with when we were running Formula Fords. And I was like, well, who's this Will Brown kid? He's not bad. And Francis was running you there, Brett Francis, right. And I know Brett really well. And I was like, who's this kid? He's like, yeah, he's not bad. And I watched you. I was like, yeah, you can see it. Like you can just. There's just something that you can see when they're driving the race go, yep, they can do it. And it's just whether all the other makeup, the personality, the temperament, all the rest of it actually all aligns up with the talent, whether they actually make it on their way. But you can certainly watch young kids on the racetrack, whether it be karting or in Formula Ford or Toyota or whatever it is now, and go, yep, they've got something. You can see it.
And not everyone can see it, right?
Yeah.
Too. But then I found it pretty ironic too. Obviously, Kai got his first race win at Christchurch, and he's freaking racing me.
Are you?
He's racing me.
He was pretty determined to beat a DJR car.
But I found it really good. The next race got one up on him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was-
I think he was pretty determined to beat the DJR car in that one,
Yeah, he
but
was,
couldn't
so-
get around it.
I find when you look at a young guy now, when you're out there as well, but it cements it when you come in and you talk to them and you see their attitude.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a big thing. You go, oh, can they drive? And then you come in and go, oh, because it's such a learning curve, even from being able to be fast on the track to try and, like you say, win a championship and all that. So you just talk to them, you're like, oh, yeah, that kid's got it.
Yeah.
Or not. You
Yeah.
sort of,
I mean, there's lots of kids that can drive fast.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
lots
100%.
of kids that can drive fast, but that's for me. And like I was terrible. I had terrible temperament when I was the young kid in Supercars. I was terrible. So I'm certainly not saying I was good at it, but the differentiator now is the temperament, the approach, the way that they can process things, all that sort of stuff. That's the differentiator for sure. Mm.
Yeah, would there be any advice for any young kids out there go-karting at the moment that you could give now, obviously, going past your career? Like I'm trying to mentor Jay now, who's 11, and, it's like trying to explain to kids now that, hard work always beats talent. And like you said, the approach, the preparation is key. And, you have to be the most prepared now going into racetrack when you're racing cars, because it's expensive now for one, but there's not many opportunities anymore, and your first impression counts. So
Yeah.
what would be?
Oh, mate, you talk about Jay's your cousin, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my son Sebastian, and they've raced against each other a bit, Jay and Sebastian, and
Have they crashed?
Yeah, probably. I think that would have been Jay's fault. And I say to Sebastian, as my own son, as I say to anyone, like, you're 100% right. It's hard work. Like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's just that simple. So, and the problem, say, with karting, for example, is there's so many kids that do so many laps. They like literally live in a go-kart. They literally weekend. And I say to Sebastian, he can't do that because 15, 16 weekends a year I'm away working and there's other things going on. So he would race half. And I said, so you've got to work harder than those kids because they're doing laps, you're not. So the work that you do to stay up with them will reward you later. Because when you get to cars, you're not in a race car every single weekend. So the preparation work that you learn when you're young, the harder you work when you're young, will pay you off when you get to cars. And then your point's right. You only get one opportunity because it's so competitive now. There's very, very few kids that'll get second and third chances to have a career.
Yeah, I find it interesting now, kind of like you touched on with the kids doing laps. I cannot believe how many laps kids are doing for AKC leading into. It is ridiculous. Like, they'd have to repave those tracks probably 3 times in a year.
Yeah.
well, it's also Brock was telling me on the weekend, I think he went out to Ipswich Nationals, but when we were racing go-karts, you were running a big setup. If you had a 4-cart trailer and 2 go-karts or something, you were like, oh, the rich kid that turned up and that. Now they turn up, they reckon there's like 40 kids in a team, be like a full semi-trailer, everything. And I'm like, I haven't been out to one. I got to go check
Yeah, it was the
this out.
Feenies that started all that.
That's true. I don't even think there was such thing as a truck when I was racing back then. Like, no one rolled in. The Hearns, Nathan Hearn and his family had a Winnebago with a go-kart trailer behind it, and we were like,
That was-
this
wow,
thing
big
is
time.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a roll on
that
there.
was literally the best setup they had, and now, like, everyone's gone.
Everyone's competitive. Everyone wants to win. So everyone's looking for that competitive advantage. That's great. But it doesn't actually, I don't believe it actually sets you up for when you get to cars.
I think it's actually worse.
Yes, because a lot of kids are fast because it's just repetitive, learned behavior. It's just laps. And eventually they get faster. But say, like supercar, if you make it supercars, you get 2 test days. That's it. One at the start, one in the middle. That's it. So you don't live in a car. So, like, driving a car is what, 20, 30% of your job?
Yeah.
That's
If
right.
maximum,
literally,
maximum.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you've got to train as if how you're doing it. So if you're going to go, say the next step's Toyotas, for example, when you do Toyotas at the moment is 6-round championship, you might do 6 to 8 test days. So that's not in the car every week. So that you're not training for that. And that for me is, ultimately, if you want to win karting, great, that's fantastic. And there's lots of people out there that have had success after winning karting. But ultimately, I still think the best way to do it is to just train as if how you will be approaching the next step.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
always
I feel like,
always think a little bit further down the road.
yeah. I feel like karting for me, I'd struggle now because, like, my
Man.
biggest thing is I Like I still do. I like to think I go racing because I want to have fun. That's why we started out. And the funnest thing for me was going with your dad to the track, working on the go-kart yourself, doing all that. You look at it now, karting though, and it's like kids are turning up expected to try win. Like they're in teams, looking at data now, doing all this sort of stuff. I would have been like, the hell's this? I want to go kick the footy. Like
I've just got myself a first kart since I finished karting.
Yep.
So and I did 2 sessions the other weekend. Within 6 laps, I was completely out of breath, and I was so far off the pace.
The tyres are so grippy now too. Hey?
It's so much fun, like so much fun, and I want to get going again, and eventually I'll probably start racing karts again. But and that's it. I just want to go back. It's just back for having fun.
Yeah.
And it's something that I can do with my son. Like you can go to the track, and he can. If I have a race meeting, I say, "Yeah, you're not racing this weekend. I'm racing, so you can mechanic for me."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. Yeah.
So after all this, you've transitioned into TV.
Yeah.
How'd that deal come? Like, was that just something you were slowly transitioning into, or?
Yes, but not realizing that I was doing it.
Yep.
So, like way back, like early 2000s, like 2003, 4, I was doing stuff for SBS. So they were doing like the Pro Car Championship, which was like Nations Cup and all that sort of stuff back in the day. And that was all post-produced. So they'd all film it and then they'd edit it all together and then we'd go to a studio and call it in a studio. So I started doing that a long time ago. And that was just because it was something that was interesting and they'd pay you to do it. And it's like, yeah, cool, I'll go and do that. And I started doing a little bit more and more of that. And then I sort of stopped doing it. And then sort of as we were starting to do this GRM thing, and I was like, even before I finished at GRM, I'm like, this doesn't sort of smell and feel like it was what we were talking about the future with the ownership and all the rest of it. So I'm like, maybe need to start considering second options. So started just very casual conversations with Supercars Media about what that might look like, with the view to the couple of years down the road when we were this is like 2017, 2018. And then that sort of got parked. And then when all the stuff went down with GRM and, that all fell apart and stopped, got the 888 deal to do the co-driving thing, but that wasn't certainly enough to pay the bills. So we did a deal with RPM because RPM was still on Channel 10 at that stage. So the Supercars broadcast was already full. They had already filled all their spots. So there was no opportunity to go into the official broadcast, but Channel 10 still had the rights and they still had RPM. So in 2019, Michael Caruso and I did, I think it was 36 Sundays in Sydney. Wow. So every Sunday we'd fly from Melbourne to Sydney, do the RPM show and then fly home Sunday night. Yeah. And then did the Enduros and then joined the broadcast in 21.
Yep.
And away we went. So, but yeah, I sort of didn't realise way back when I was doing all that post-produced support category stuff that was sort of almost like the planting the seeds. And I did the Bathurst 6 Hour, which is what is now the production car race. I did that in like 2007, 2008, and Nathan Prendergast was producing it. So we were calling it. It was Aaron Noonan and myself calling it, and Prendergast was he was producing it. So we called it, and Aaron was the main caller, and I was the expert guy, and Nathan's editing. And he said at the end of that, he goes, "Oh, you're pretty good at this. You'll be able to do this one day." And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was still obviously focused on being a race car driver. I was like, yeah, okay. And then Nathan turns up as the head of television, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a go at that now. and so that a very first seed for that was planted with Nathan, like, nearly 20 years ago. Yep. Yeah.
And here we are today.
Here we are today. It's all about relationships, boys.
That's it.
All about relationships.
How has that transition been this year? Obviously, with Scaife and Crompo going out, what's that been like, stepping up on that side?
I've enjoyed it. Yep. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Calling the races is really an honour. It's a massive honour because if you think about other sports, ex-athletes in sports, so you like AFL or NRL, there's probably 10 to 15 media spots available for those guys. So, I mean, there's a lot more guys playing AFL or NRL, but there's more spots available in media for them post-career. Whereas when you think about it in ours, there's probably 2 for ex-drivers to go into the broadcast as experts. So it's an incredible honour to have that opportunity. And I really enjoy it. Like I love it. I've been really fortunate to have a career as a driver and have some success and have be rewarded quite well through the career. So now to go back and help tell the story of what you guys are doing is an honour, and it's really enjoyable. I love it, and I treat it like I used to treat race weekends. So after every session, I'll sit down, make a heap of notes. How can I be better at this? Oh, I made a mistake here. And so you're making all these notes, trying to be better for next time. And then next session you go out, righto, and I'm going to be better this time. And then, like, even when I was doing the pit lane stuff, and I did that, been doing that for 4 or 5 years, like, it was always, how can I be better? How can I be better? I want to be better at this. I want to be better at this. I still feel like I'm in, like, 4th year apprentice. So
You were such a prick when you started.
yeah.
When you come in, you have a crash, and you just know exactly what
You
question.
know what to ask
Yeah.
you.
You just get it. You had that shit-eating grin on your face, too.
I'm going to get it out of you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you always start with so Brodie, and I'm going, there we go.
No, that was actually, to be honest, that was what they told me to do. So go in there and get them to explain to you why they did that.
Yeah.
And that was because I knew why you did that.
you
I
know.
knew why
Yeah,
you
you
did
know.
that. I know how you made that mistake. There's no point in me telling you. I needed you guys to tell us, the viewers. So that was my job. And because I'd been there, lived it, made those same mistakes myself, I had that same success myself. So that was my job, and that's JC's job now.
Yeah.
I find it'd be such a learning curve over the time with the interviewing, because it's easy for us, like you would have had it as a driver. Oh, so how was your car? And you just give the same. You
Yeah.
know, oh, yeah, it was great. But when you actually have to ask the question or do the interview, I always found that, like, even doing this, it's a lot harder than just getting a question asked to you.
Yeah, well, I had never done more than a 1-question interview prior to going into the broadcast or doing RPM. So it's easy to do 1 question, right? It's easy because you can prepare. Yep. But then you got to think of a follow-up question. So, and then you learn how to pad, right? So, like, you'll be a red flag or a rain delay or whatever it might be. And it's like, oh, I'll go to Brodie and have a chat to him. So you go and ask you a question, you have a second question, and then you're answering. So then while you're answering, I'm starting to think about the next question, not based on what you're talking about. And then you go, oh shit, I've stopped listening to Brodie. What was he talking about here? So learning how to do that on the run was really challenging. And that was like mate, I've got to be better at this stuff. Make that better, be better.
With the people in your ears. Like, have you ever done it where they get you to go interview someone and you put the earpiece in and they talk to you while you're trying to interview, and you're like, now I don't remember what I was saying. I don't remember what.
Yeah. No, that was they were quite good to me when I started. There wasn't a lot of chat in my ear. Now in the comms box there's talking a lot.
What would they be saying to you?
They'll be setting you up for the next shot.
Okay. Yep.
They'll be setting you up for a replay that's coming. We have Scott Sinclair sit in the commentary box with us. He's like our race engineer. So he has a lot of information that he can feed to us, that he also feeds to the director. So the director knows which shot to take. And then Scotty will then get on the intercom to us and say, Brodie Kostecki's just gone purple in the middle sector. He was 2/10 down in the first sector. Keep an eye on him. And then the shot will come with Brodie's car. You'll come across the line, and we'll already know that's happening, so we'll be talking about it. So yeah, now there's a lot going on, and it's funny because JC comes into the commentary box for the long races, and you can tell when they're talking to JC. So we'll be calling away, whoever it might be, Matt Nolte and myself will be calling away, and JC's like, because they'll be talking to him, he just goes like rock solid, and then he starts talking again, and then because he sort of gets so consumed about what's going on in your head, what they're talking about, you sort of lose a bit of momentum of what's been happening on the monitor. But yeah, I mean, it's a skill that takes some time. It is. Yeah, it is.
Did you get the blessing from Scaife and Crompo after?
Oh, look, that was a challenging period for everyone involved. Absolutely. I've spoken to Neil quite a bit. I haven't caught up with Mark. I get it because it probably wasn't handled as well as it could have been handled at the end for those guys. I mean, those guys, were the voices of Supercars for a long time.
It's not just that, they're Hall of Famers too.
Yeah, that's right. So, I believe it wasn't handled as well as it could have been. And it's difficult because, you feel like you're stepping into their chair, but hey, I didn't go into Supercars and say, hey, give me their job. I want it. You'll get it. Like, it's like they've given me this opportunity.
Someone's got to take it.
So yeah, so it's a little bit awkward. But yeah, look, it's that's where I get back to it being such an honour to be able to have this role and to follow those guys. You know, I mean, I got to race against Mark. I got to be Mark's teammate. I got to race against him again. I got to work with him in the broadcast. And now I'm effectively doing Mark's role as the expert in the commentary box. And it's all the way through. It's been a real honour to be this close to him because, you know, he's Hall of Famer, 6-time Bathurst winner. He's won the championship so many times. His record stands for itself. So look, it's that's where I get back to being such an honour to have this opportunity.
Yeah, and it's great that you see it that way. And I think that's another thing that our sport does a pretty bad job. Like you see, like NASCAR, and they have we have our Hall of Fame program, but it's not really. It needs a redo. I think with how it's portrayed, because for example, like we had Dick at the track at Tasmania on the weekend.
Yeah.
And he's 81 now, so him and Jilly were there, and they can't even get a golf buggy. Like the category can't get a golf buggy from the car to the pits. But we're happy to use him on television.
Yeah.
But there's so many Hall of Famers that have been a part of our sport that have built our sport. We should be celebrating them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think we have and I use Dick as an example. Like he is one of the foundation guys in not just supercars, but in touring cars, like back to the early 80s. So, you know, we should be celebrating whenever Dick comes. And I saw Dick at the track and I was like, awesome, made a beeline for him straight away. G'day, how you going? So great to see you here. Because he's like a genuine legend in our sport, like a genuine legend.
I tell you what, like having him there, you'd go, your typical, someone's walking up to you with a poster and you're getting ready, you pull the pin out and they go, oh no, actually no, is Dick here? And it's like, yeah.
That's always embarrassing. We've always had that happen. All of us would have over the top. You want a photo? Oh no, I want one with Brock. And you're like, but yeah,
we used to have Lounsey. So we used to go, when it was at Red Bull, it was Shane, myself, Jamie and Craig, and you'd turn up to autograph sessions and they'd all be there for Lounsey, which is fine. And so we used to call it like the Lounge Vortex. So you'd send, whenever you're walking somewhere, you'd send Lounsey first. And then all the fans would flock to Lounsey and all the vortex would start over there. And then we'd quickly tuck off over this way. So, all of us got that. But no, I agree. I agree back to the Hall of Fame thing. I think we do absolutely need to celebrate the legends and the Hall of Famers in our sport as much as we can at any opportunity.
You're one of them.
Hey? Well, no, I'm not.
Are you a Hall of Famer?
No.
No, but I'm sure you will be at some point. But yeah, I actually haven't seen a lot. Like even when probably they do the national anthem and that, they can nearly call what Hall of Famers are there. You know what I mean? Because there wouldn't be a lot, would there? Like at each round, are there many?
No, there wouldn't be. Colin Bond comes to a few. He's Hall of Famer. Dick. It's got to be careful when you start calling out names in these things because you leave someone out. But any time that those guys or people are at the racetrack, we should absolutely be celebrating it whenever we can, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Actually, one thing I have seen is the commentary, the feedback from the fans. Like at the start, obviously with the scaife.
Change is scary.
Change is scary. But like the feedback has been, I've noticed, really rising, and it seems like you guys are doing a great job. But it seems like the fans are really coming around to it now more, I would say.
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of it was change.
That's right, 100%.
It was change.
Everyone always
it's change, and change is scary, regardless of what you're doing, and it's going to be different. It is 100% going to be different because if there was a decree to make a change, then the change needs to sound different. There's no point putting two new guys in there trying to sound like two guys that have been doing it before. So it's going to sound different. We're going to use different words. It's going to be structured differently. Now it's just starting to get, I think everyone's becoming comfortable with the opportunity they've been given. I mean, for Chad and for Richard for Matt, like it's such a fantastic opportunity for those guys because they've been in the trenches for so long doing support categories and pounding up and down pit lane and doing other categories and doing the apprenticeship. Like I said, well, I feel like I'm a fourth-year apprentice still doing it. Those guys have been doing it a lot longer than me in the broadcast stuff, and it's a fantastic opportunity for them. And it's great that they'll get an opportunity to make it their own as well. So.
It seems to all be going well. Well, the other thing, we obviously you've gone from a pro driver to a pro go-kart dad.
Yes.
How's that all going? Are you on the sideline? Are you into him?
Oh, no, you're
relaxed.
No, I'm far more competitive than I should be.
Tell the truth.
No, I am. It's challenging because it's just Sebastian that races now. But my daughter Scarlett used to race, but she's hardcore into basketball now, and she's very good at that. So it's just Bass that's racing, and he's got something. I don't know if he's got what it is, but he's got something. But he just never wants to listen to me.
Is that normal? That's normal.
Yeah, and I get it because it's the same. I'm his dad, and it's the same dad that says, "Do your homework, clean your room up, get your school bag off the floor, do the dishes." It's the same voice that says, "Brake later, get on the throttle earlier, carry more mid-corner speed." It's the same voice, right? So he's like, he just doesn't listen to me. And then all his mates come up to me and go, "Why don't you listen to your dad? Like, he knows what he's talking about. Why won't you listen to him?" So it is a bit of a challenge. So a lot of the time I get other people to coach him. Say, "Hey, can you just tell old mate what he needs to hear so he can get on with it?"
Have you used the good old-fashioned, like, if you don't start listening, I'm putting the go-kart in the trailer and I'm going home?
He has. Look at it.
It's been a bit of that. But I enjoy going to the track just as much as he does. So, look, there's been a couple of chats, and I still remember having these chats with my dad when I was about the same age as what Sebastian is now. Sebastian's 13 now. And it was like, if you're not going to be serious about this, then I'm not going to put the effort in, right? And I've had that chat with Sebastian, and he's starting to get it now, and he's starting to get the bit that the more work you put in, the better it is, the better the outcome potential is. So I actually went, and I used to do notes for every racetrack. So I'd have handwritten notes like with track map and all the rest of it of what I'd learnt over the course of this weekend. So what I learnt at Simmons Plains, turn 1, turn 2, what I learnt at the hairpin, what I learnt in the back straight. Make all these notes, put it away, and then pull it out next year before I went back there and read it. So I've still got all those notes. So it was actually after Simmons this year, I said to him, "Mate, do you want me to show you what I used to do?" And I said, this was just for me to go and do one co-driver session, that co-driver session I did in the thing, and it was like 4 pages of notes. I said, that was for me to do half an hour of driving, go and have a read of the detail. And he came back and he went, "Oh, okay." And he went off to his laptop and starts making all these notes about the next track we're going to. So I think the penny's starting to drop now that the harder you work, the better the outcome might be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So funny. Like literally this conversation yesterday, like identical one. And it's funny when Steve, my uncle's trying to tell Jay, and it's just like in through one through one ear and out the other. But as soon as I say it, it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like it means something.
Yeah. Well, I've done it with Steve before when Jay and Sebastian were racing against each other. Each other
swap over.
Would swap. So Steve would talk to Sebastian, I'd talk to Jay. So it's because as long as they just, it doesn't matter what you say, if they hear it from a different voice, it's on. So Shane used to come to the track when he was around, and he'd coach Sebastian, and like Sebastian, that's the most interested he's ever shown in karting ever. So when Shane's coaching him, I'm like, Jesus, why are you listening to this guy
I've won
for?
more Bathurst than him.
I'm teaching that guy too.
Oh, that's funny. Well, we thought we'd get into, we want to, some more about your book. When's it coming out again?
So it's in pre-release now. So I'm learning all about the book industry right now.
Yep.
So it's in what they call pre-release. So you can go on to, I think it's Booktopia, and you can pre-order.
Do you have has the name come out for it yet?
Yes, it's called Finish Line.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So it's in pre-release now. So you can go online and pre-purchase.
We'll put the link in our description.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. And
we
then
get commission.
Yeah, we take 3%.
Yeah. No problems. We can work that out. And then it's on bookshelves late September.
Cool.
Which is strategically just before Bathurst.
Yes,
yeah,
right.
So it's funny how that works like that. So,
and who do you get to write that in public? Like who does
so Aaron Noonan wrote it.
Oh, yeah.
So the way that it worked was we would catch up. And the beauty about Noon's writing it is round one of the Australian Formula Ford Championship that I did at Calder in 1997 was Noon's very first race weekend as a motorsport journo.
Yeah, wow.
So he's effectively been there the whole time. Yeah. So he knows a lot of it anyway. But we sat down and did 5 or 6 like downloads, like 7, 8, 9 hour sessions where we just sit and talk about, start right from the very beginning, talk about your parents, talk about introduction to motorsport, talk about karting, talk about Formula Ford, all that stuff. We would do massive download dumps of that. He would make all these notes. He recorded it. Then he started typing it up, and then we'd edit it and back over and back over and back over and back over. So it's a massive, massive process. It's been really enjoyable. It's really cathartic. It's actually, there was so much stuff in there that it's funny, you go to a dealer function or you go to a sponsor function, you get up and you do a talk or whatever you might do, and you guys have done hundreds of them as well. And you retell history, but like there was 3 or 4 stories that I was retelling wrong. Because the way that I remembered it a particular way, and then Noons would go, "Oh, I don't think that's actually right." And he's got this great back catalogue of data and statistics and all the rest of it. So he'd go away and figure it all out, and he goes, "No, you're telling that story wrong. This is what happened." You go, "Oh, okay, yeah, righto." So it's been really interesting to almost relearn my own history because it's been a while since it started. So yeah, it's actually a really enjoyable experience. Yeah. A lot of stuff that I'd forgotten about, like a lot of stuff.
Pick 2 juicy bits that fans can expect to.
Yeah, well, I'll have to read about in the book. I'm not going to tell you here. That's no point. No point buying the book.
Just like a teaser.
Hey?
Just get them hooked.
Maybe just the subjects. That you
Subjects.
Well,
yeah.
we've covered a little bit the contract stuff leaving Triple Eight and going to Grove. That's covered. That's covered in. That's covered in there. There's some HRT stuff in there.
Yep.
There's. But going into a little bit more detail about the GRM stuff, the ending of the GRM stuff. There's a lot of stuff about teams that I spoke to about potentially driving for that,
That'd be cool.
that didn't get over the line.
Right.
There's some stuff in there about that, some interesting ones in there. Yeah. There is one, and it's in the public domain, so it's not like it's an exclusive in the book. But DJR, so 2003 Sandown 500. No, 2003, 2004, around there somewhere. I crashed into Stevie J early in the 500, and he was driving the DJR car.
Boy, that's not good.
Yeah, so we get back, and so we finished the stint. Like, cars are still going, but, and anyway, we did the driver change, and we get out, and they interview us straight away, and I call Stevie J all the names under the sun. Stevie J calls me all the names under the sun, and this is on a Sunday. And then that next Thursday, I'm in Queensland at the DJR workshop doing a tour about whether potentially going to join DJR in the future. So on Sunday we hated each other's guts, but on the next Thursday we were best mates trying to get into this new relationship.
You did the whole, I was just hot under the collar. I didn't.
No, we didn't even talk about it. That's just like, that's what you do on the weekend, and this is business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that sort of stuff in the book as well that we go into detail about.
Well, we're looking forward to reading it. Before we go into
there's an audio book as well, Will, so that'll help you.
I was thinking that before. I was reading a book since grade 1, I reckon.
There's no big words in there, mate. You'll be fine.
Perfect. That's good. Well, I was thinking we go to our Q&A generally that our fans have put in, but can we do our fantasy team? Can we get Garth to do that?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
so we've got this new thing that we want to do and we'll go driver, co-driver, engineer, and number 1 mechanic, something like that, of who you would choose.
Now?
Yeah, a fan doesn't have to.
Can I do a retro one?
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Rather than
whatever
do
you
the
want.
current ones?
Yeah.
He has to do that.
Yeah, because otherwise I don't want people
Favoritism.
I don't want people getting their nose out of joint
we'll
because
have
I've
a
got
cry
a
about it
broadcast.
and
Yeah,
say-
exactly.
Yeah.
Garth doesn't like me. So retro one would be, so what is it? Go. What do I need to?
Main driver, co-driver, engineer, and like a number 1 mechanic.
Main driver, Jim Richards.
Yep.
Co-driver, so of my era, like the good co-driver, like which were like the one weekend type guys. Greg Ritter, which would be a bit left field.
Yeah, okay.
Because he was one of those
cool.
guys. Remember you said we were talking about guys that you see him drive a race car and you go, yep, he can do it. Greg was one of those. He could do it. Just didn't get the right chances, right opportunities. So there's one. Team? Did you say?
Yeah,
Was that a
let's go
team?
team as well, yep.
Well, my heyday would be HRT.
Yep.
So HRT. What else? And then what? Engineer.
Engineer.
Engineer. It would be an interesting engineer for those combos. Richard Holway.
Yep.
Krusty.
Cool, Krusty.
Yeah. So he was at HRT when I was there, but he wasn't my race engineer. Then I did 2 years with him at GRM, and that were great time, great fun. What else?
And you have a mechanic that you've worked with that you
A
just
mechanic.
Yep.
So my number 1 mechanic at GRM in 99, 2000 was a guy called Johnny Panozzo.
Yep.
He came to the team. He was from Bendigo. Came to the team as a truck driver. And like the truck was the cleanest it had ever been. It was the organised it had ever been. So he was instantly promoted onto the car, and he ended up as my number 1 mechanic. And then he ended up leaving GRM. He went to PWR when PWR was a race team. He ended up as a team manager at PWR. And I think now he's like one of the head honchos at PWR in the business.
That's cool.
So, and he was a gun operator.
Yeah.
So he's older than me, so probably working underneath the car probably doesn't interest him these days. But yeah, he was gun. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, we're going to run that from now and see what people get.
Sweet.
Okay, Q&A, Zanes.
Just a couple of quick ones, GT. What was with the blue hair in 2001?
Right. So actually go into this in the book in a bit of detail. But we were talking about everyone being really corporate, and everyone was, everyone was getting around. Back in those days, everyone was getting around with literally with briefcases. So it was and I was starting to head down that way of being one of those dudes because all the big dogs were doing it, and I still didn't feel like I was one of the big dogs at that stage. So I'm like, this doesn't feel right to me. I don't really feel like I'm one of those types. So I'm going to break out of it altogether. Yep. So I went and dyed my hair blue because we were Valvoline at that stage, and blue was their colour. So I'm like, I'm going to make a statement and do something different. So I dyed my hair blue, and I turned up the first round, and Scaife looked at me and goes, "What the is that?" And I was like, "Perfect, it's done its job." Yeah, there's a picture somewhere of him looking at me in complete disbelief.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Chazzy's been doing it a fair bit lately, but he's sort of
back into it.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it?
I don't have any hair to do it.
Would you do a wild card for the Perth Street Circuit since it's a home race for you?
No.
Yeah, come on.
No.
Come on.
I would love to do it, but I'm not. I would not do it.
Too competitive, aren't you?
Yeah. Because I'm not at the level that.
Last time he won the Bathurst 1000.
Last time I drove, I won. You're only as good as your last race.
Yeah, that's right.
And the last race I did turned out okay.
Yeah, that's right.
He's up the Rosberg.
Dane said you taught him how to win Bathurst, so what's the secret?
To win? Well, then they'd be giving it away. So
It's in the book.
Brodie's worked it out. No, it's for Shane, I think it was. He wanted to be fastest in every session. So it was like, and if he wasn't fastest in Thursday practice 1, the wheels would fall off. And I'm like, dude, doesn't matter where we are now. Doesn't matter where we finished Thursday practice. Doesn't matter. I could not tell you in any of the previous races that I've done at Bathurst where I finished the first day of practice. Doesn't matter. It's where we finish Sunday afternoon. That's all that matters. And once he sort of got comfortable with that it was a process to get to where you needed to be, that's what I think he sort of meant by when he said that in that podcast that he did. Yeah.
That's a Paul Morris treatment.
Yeah, it took me, by the time I got to working with Shane, I'd done 20 Bathurst, so it had taken me a bit to figure that out. But yeah, it was all about Sunday afternoon. Doesn't even matter where you start the race. So look, we started the race last year in 19th. Didn't matter where you started.
A long old day.
If someone made you Supercars CEO, what one change would you make?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Thankfully, I don't have to be CEO, so I don't have to have it. But
remember, they do pay you.
Yeah, I know they do pay me, so it's not going to be super controversial.
Yeah.
I would like, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with you guys about the drivers feeling comfortable to be themselves and creating a framework or an environment where, and I often felt, and this is not of the current leadership in the sport, but I often felt if you said something controversial, the own sports website would actually criticize you. I'm like, seriously, I'm actually. If I've said something controversial, it's going to create news. At least don't say anything or don't sort of whack me as well. Don't pile on. So not that happens. I don't think that happens now, but I would like to see somehow, some way, an environment where the personalities can come out more. For sure.
Last year.
What's that?
It still happens. It happened last year at Bathurst.
Someone get a whack.
Yeah. You know exactly what I'm about to
I can't remember.
Yeah, you can.
I'm old. I've been hitting my head a lot.
After I qualified.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but you didn't play that politically that well.
I thought I did.
No, you didn't. You can't qualify on pole and say the car's not fast enough. I was driving the same brand of car as you. I was like, seriously, dude, you're making this a lot harder for us.
I do remember this as well. I do remember this.
But it made national
It did.
It went
did.
big.
It did. No, it did. It did.
It's exactly what you described, but it was
Yeah.
like behind the scenes. It was
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Talking about Bathurst last year, last one, most important one. How did you know what 6-7 was?
Oh, it was literally the night before. Like literally the night before.
Will
And-
still doesn't know what it is.
No, well, I barely know, right? So we're all staying at the house. My kids were staying with us. So Matt, Kai, myself, Dale Wood, and the kids, and there's like 10 of us all in this massive house. And somehow the kids are in the conversation. We got on to like the language.
Skibbities and
All that junk. You know, Riz and Skibbity and 6-7 and all that. And I'm with you. I've got no idea, right? And then Kai and my daughter Scarlett were like conversing in this language that was like, seriously, you're talking English or what are you talking? So Kai's all over it because he's that young, and Scarlett's a little bit older than Sebastian. So they sort of know it. And I was like, right, okay, what's this 6-7 thing? And they're like, oh, and they go mental about this 6-7. It's got something to do with some song, something to do with basketball, and all the rest of it. So when Jess Yates at the end says to Matt Payne, you are the 67th driver to win the Bathurst 1000, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a gift from heaven. So I've whacked him 6-7 because Matt was in the conversation 6-7, and that was that. And it turned out that I was trending on TikTok
Yeah.
for saying.
Did you do the motion?
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
My daughter told me.
Can you do the motion for us now?
6-7, mate.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to do any of it.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know. Anyway.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
That's all the Q&As. Well, that's pretty much wraps up the episode, but we appreciate you coming on. We could probably sit here and talk all day. You've got a pretty cool history, but we're going to have to read
That's
the
his
book as
job.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've enjoyed not asking the questions. It's great, actually, you two doing some work. So
Are we shit at it?
no, you're not bad at it. I did not have on my bingo card that we would finish the podcast saying 6-7, but here we are.
Sometimes it diverts and you have to come back on. But no, I appreciate you coming on. And get to Darwin now. We do. So appreciate it.
Cheers, boys. Keep up the
Thanks.
work.
Thanks.
Cheers.